Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to the Goldie Show with your host, of course, me, Goldie Ghamari. Great to see you all. Did you guys miss me? Did you guys miss me? I've seen some of your comments on some of my videos, and you're like, Goldie, how come you're not live streaming 8 hours, 10 hours a day anymore? That's because it's unsustainable, guys. I wish I could, but I can't. But I'm, kind of trying to, balance things out and figure things out. But great to be back and great to see all of you. We're going to have a very interesting show today. Basically, it's going to be a bit of information, a bit of Q&A. We're going to do a watch party. Guys, I am seeing some clips that are like a preview of President Trump's upcoming interview with Sean Hannity. Wow. Guys, you know what's really interesting is there's certain people, certain commentators who are saying that this trip by President Trump to China is President Trump's, attempt to either appease China or to make it seem as if, President Trump wants to like negotiate or, something like that. Guys, I'm not getting that sense at all. I don't see it. I don't see it. I actually made a whole video about that, and then there was like some technical errors, so the whole thing went to waste. So I have to like redo it tomorrow morning. But I'll give you guys pretty much the DL on this. So the people who are claiming that President Trump went to China in order to appease China or to like, show like a friendly face, they're totally 100% completely incorrect. And I'll explain why. First of all, why would President Trump of all people take Marco Rubio, right? Marco Rubio's been sanctioned by China. And yet President Trump said to China, "Oh, I'm coming. I'm going to bring Marco Rubio with me, and there's nothing you can do about it." And then, for those of you who were with me last night during the watch party, we saw President Xi, Xi Jinping. Uh, is that how we pronounce? You know what? I need to figure out how to pronounce that properly. Let me just make sure I'm pronouncing it properly. President Xi Jinping. There you go. So XI is Xi. Okay, so um, we all saw that video footage yesterday live of President Xi Jinping shaking Marco Rubio's hand, and President Trump was watching, right? So that's the first thing. President Trump, by bringing Marco Rubio with him, President Trump is sending a signal to China that your sanctions or your foreign policy when it comes to Americans in the United States is completely irrelevant. So right there, like that's a huge power move. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is President Trump took Pete Hegseth with him, right? President Trump took the United States Secretary of War to China with him. This serves a dual purpose, guys. So the first purpose, of course, is President Trump. He's basically letting China know that this trip to China is not just about trade or tariffs or the economy. It's also about military power. And by President Trump taking Pete Hegseth with him, that's a power move right there. But it also serves a dual purpose, right? Because of course there's the current conflict with the Islamic regime occupying Iran. And keep in mind, China, the CCP. So guys, for everyone watching, I just want to be very clear. I'm putting the disclaimer out right now. So whenever I say China, I'm not referring to the Chinese people. I'm referring to the CCP. I'll try to remember to say CCP, but if I say China, you guys know what I mean. Because I know there are a lot of Chinese people who are against the CCP. They're trying to overthrow the CCP and free China. And in fact, one of our biggest allies as Iranians are patriotic Chinese people who are against communism and who are against the CCP. So I want to make that very clear as well. Not only did President Trump take Pete Hegseth with him, as to show sort of military dominance, but keep in mind there's the current conflict between the United States and Israel on one hand and the Islamic regime occupying Iran on the other. And by President Trump taking Pete Hegseth to China, he's sending a signal to the Islamic regime and to China that, you know what, this so-called war that the Islamic regime is claiming as a war, President Trump is saying, yeah, you know what, this is just an excursion. This is just an excursion, because if President Trump was actually super concerned about what's happening in occupied Iran, or the conflict there, wouldn't Pete Hegseth be in the United States focusing on that conflict? So this is a total power move. By taking Pete Hegseth, he's also signaling to the Islamic regime that they're not as important or powerful as they think they are. And President Trump isn't that concerned because he's taking Pete Hegseth to China. So that's the other thing. The third reason why I am convinced that this trip to Beijing is not appeasement or anything like that is because he took Scott Bessent. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but let me pull it up. Let me find this and I'll pull it up. Like every time I bring up X, like some new info comes out and it's just wild. But if you recall, it was like Scott Bessent sanctioned some Chinese companies recently. Here we go. It's right here. So Scott Bessent. Let me find the best setup here. What's the best setup for me here? Is it this? No. This makes my face look too big. You don't want to see my huge face. We want you know what? I'll just keep it here. So back on May 11, so literally just 4 or 5 days ago, Scott Bessent actually sanctioned a whole bunch of Chinese companies that were working with the Islamic regime and giving data to the Islamic regime about U.S. military movement. Do you guys remember that? Let's watch this together. So this is big.
It's been in the works, and
wait, is the volume too low? Wait, let me increase my volume here. All right, here we go.
It's been in the works, and we would encourage the Iranians to let these more than 300 vessels leave. That they can fire on them. They're I think it's called the Mosquito Navy. Is being swatted. Numerous ships, maybe in double digits, have been destroyed. And the U.S., we are just firing if fired upon. We are not the provocateurs here. But if the Iranians want to escalate here, we are willing to escalate.
So this is clearly a test of Iran as well as we speak, correct?
It is a test of Iran, but Bill, again, this is a ragtag band of pirates that the great U.S. military, we've destroyed their Air Force, we've destroyed all their conventional Navy. Their battle lines along the strait have been destroyed. So it's been in the...
Okay, well, that's not the clip that I wanted, but let's go to the, what was this? Let's go to the U.S. Department of Treasury instead. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. This is important. So this came out literally 3-4 days ago. Economic fury ramps up pressure on Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps oil operations. Today, the Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control is designating 12 individuals and their roles for enabling the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' sale and shipment of Iranian oil to the People's Republic of China. The IRGC relies on front companies in permissive economic jurisdictions to obfuscate its role in oil sales and funnel the revenue to the Iranian regime. Instead of using this revenue to support the struggling Iranian people, the regime directs it toward weapons deployment, backing terrorist proxies, and funding security forces that suppress citizens' freedoms. As Iran's military desperately tries to regroup, economic fury will continue to deprive the regime of funding for its weapons programs, terrorist proxies, and nuclear ambitions, said Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent. Treasury will continue to cut the Iranian regime. It should be Islamic regime, but that's fine. We'll forgive that. Treasury will continue to cut the Iranian regime off from the financial networks it uses to carry out terrorist acts and to destabilize the global economy. Economic fury delivers maximum pressure on Iran. The Treasury Department is maintaining maximum pressure on Iran and targeting the regime's ability to generate, move, and repatriate funds. Treasury is aggressively advancing economic fury and has disrupted billions in projected oil revenue, taken actions that have led to the freezing of nearly $500 million in regime-linked cryptocurrency, and cracked down on Tehran's shadow banking networks. Where's this one here? Not that one. Not that one. Okay. There was one more where they listed a whole bunch of Chinese companies. Let me pull that up. US. Because like that one, here's the thing. Everyone's always focused on like military and boom booms and things like that. But guys, the real war, I believe the real chokehold on the Islamic regime is in fact the economy. And I say this as, a former international trade lawyer. So guys, like, in a past life, in a previous life, before I was a politician, I was actually an international trade lawyer. So for 5 years, I literally did anything and everything related to trade, economics, tariffs, customs, duties, all that stuff, dumping, subsidies. Guys, when it comes to China and Chinese economics, and when it comes to like dumping and subsidies and tariffs and all that stuff, guys, I know that stuff like the back of my hand. Like the World Trade Organization and all the dumping and subsidy stuff. So yeah, like that's basically what I did for 5 years before I became a politician. So I know this stuff like the back of my hand, and I'm telling you guys, the economy, right? The economy is how you can actually truly put a nation in a chokehold. I mean, yes, military, like the military aspect is super important, especially when it comes to an Islamic dictatorship like the Islamic regime occupying Iran. But when it comes to China, because there's no active military operation between the United States and China, the economy is how you get them. And by President Trump taking Scott Bessent with him, and Scott Bessent being the genius and mastermind behind Operation Economic Fury, that is sending a huge signal. And I have a very, very important interview that Scott Bessent had this morning that I want to share. However, I want to go back to this. So this is from April 15. This was actually a press conference that Caroline, what's my phone buzzing? What's going on? there something going on here? No, that's nothing. All right. So there was actually a really important press conference on April 15 that Carolyn Levitt and Scott Bessent had. We didn't have the opportunity to share that on Iran Revolution Live because there was a lot of info going on. But I want to share this with you now. Let me just change my setup here a little bit because, guys, this is so important. Guys, so this is from April 15. Okay, so this is literally a month ago. So pay attention to this.
50% tariff against China still on the table now, or is the letter exchange that we talked about now taking that off of the table?
Well, as you know, the president spoke about the letter with respect to he and the correspondence between he and President Xi. President Xi assured the president that they are not supplying Iran with weapons throughout this conflict, and that assurance was made to the president. It's obviously something the administration keeps close tabs on with respect to tariff. Do you have any update on that, Mr. Secretary?
I don't have an update on the tariffs, but I do have an update on sanctions. Iran used to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism. China was purchasing more than 90% of their oil, which is about 8% of China's energy needs. We believe this blockade in the Straits, there will be a pause of Chinese buying, but I will tell you that 2 Chinese banks received letters from the U.S. Treasury. I'm not going to identify the banks, but we told them that if we can prove that there is Iranian money flowing through your accounts, then we are willing to put on secondary sanctions.
Nick, go ahead.
So there you go. A month ago, Scott was putting China on notice. But it actually goes deeper than that, okay? It actually goes deeper than that because let me find the other post. Let me find the other one. Let me find the U.S. Treasury. Wait, was it this post? Let me go back. Okay, here, Treasury Department. Okay, let me find this. Nope. Okay, I might have to find this, but this was, oh, where was it? Gosh, I had this. Where was it? Okay, here we go. Here we go. So this is the post. Today, Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control is designating 12 individuals and entities for their roles in enabling the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' sale and shipment of Iranian oil to the People's Republic of China. The IRGC relies on front companies in permissive economic jurisdictions to obfuscate its role in oil sales and funnel the revenue to the Iranian regime. Instead of using this revenue to support the struggling Iranian people, the regime directs it towards weapons development, backing terrorist proxies, and funding security forces that suppress citizens' freedom. So this is what I just read earlier in the actual press release from the U.S. Treasury Department. You know what's really sad is that this post did not get a lot of attention. However, as someone who used to be an international trade lawyer, you know, in another life, this is big. Guys, this is huge. So the fact that, you know, 3-4 days ago on May 11, Scott Bessent sanctioned companies and organizations that are working with China behind the scenes. And now Scott Bessent is in China with President Trump, right? So not only did President Trump take Marco Rubio, not only did he take Pete Hegseth, he also took Scott Bessent, right? Like he took the big guns with him. So this trip to China this is not appeasement. This is not, oh, let's be friends. I mean, sure, it could be let's be friends, but this is President Trump enacting his foreign policy of peace through strength. Oh, I haven't even gone to Elon Musk yet. Someone's saying Elon Musk. I haven't even gone to Elon Musk yet. We're still only on like the political figures here, right? But President Trump taking these, these top people in his administration. And by the way, keep in mind, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and Scott Bessent are the key players when it comes to the conflict with the Islamic regime, right? So President Trump taking the key players with him, that's sending a very strong signal to China that you need to back off. You need to back off. And President Trump is essentially laying the foundation for who is going to call the shots when it comes to economic and military, sort of strategy in the upcoming century, right? So President Trump, even though he's the one going to China, because think about it, usually, and this is a thing, right? Like when a dignitary visits another country, usually it's viewed and it's perceived, and this is just how it works in the political world. So when you go to visit another country or something, by you going there, it's almost as if you are, it's typically perceived as you're going there to show signs of respect or whatever the case might be. However, President Trump has totally flipped that narrative around. Even though he is the one going to China, he's not going to China as like, a guest. Exactly. Like President Trump is not going there to kiss the ring. Exactly. Because that's typically what happens. And as you can see, like usually it's President Trump who is inviting various countries to come to the United States so that they can kiss the ring. However, in this case, President Trump going to China, it's not a kiss the ring situation. President Trump going to China and taking Marco Rubio, who was sanctioned by Xi Jinping, Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of War, and Scott Bessent, who is sanctioning Chinese companies. That's President Trump stepping into China and basically marking his territory. You know what I mean? Like he's claiming his territory. He's basically saying that we Americans are so confident in our military and economic strength that we are coming to you, but we're coming to you in a position of power. And Xi Jinping and the CCP, I feel, are in a position right now where they're scrambling to keep up and to catch up. You know what I mean? And I'll explain why. There have been some updates from President Trump on Truth Social, but before we go to those, I want to share, I know I played this yesterday, but this interview from Senator Lindsey Graham is incredibly important. So let me just pull this up. Aw, we got a super chat from Hatchman. It's not much. I'm poor. Just want. Oh, thank you so much. Listen, I appreciate that. Please, if you don't have the financial means, you don't need to send super chats. Like it's totally okay. Just your presence here is more than enough. So the best way that you can help, I mean, if you want to send super chats, that's great. I never ask for them. I leave it up to the viewers. But if you want to contribute, like, share, subscribe, that's the best way that you can support. So, I really do appreciate that. But if you're not in a financial situation where you can contribute, please don't. Like, I would rather you, focus on that. But yeah, I mean, I always appreciate super chats, and I do have certain times during my live streams where I will answer super chats. So I do appreciate that, but that's very kind of you. Thank you. All right, so let's go to this this interview, because remember, guys, there are a number of people that President Trump speaks through, right? And Senator Lindsey Graham is one of those people. So here you go. Oh my gosh, you're so funny, guys. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Push-ups always has the funniest comments. That makes me laugh, so I'll take that. Guys, I'm trying to be serious right now. You're gonna make me laugh, and then I'm gonna lose my focus. My gosh. Evan Christensen, I'm ashamed of my government of Norway. If it helps, the government has 65% disapproval. Oh my gosh, yes, I did make a post, shame on Norway. But that's shame on the Norwegian government. The Norwegian people are amazing. Christian, Norway is one of my favorite countries. I actually visited Norway 2 summers ago, and I had the once in a lifetime opportunity to visit the Norwegian fjords. And I don't know if this is like a stereotype or not, but I also really enjoy like Norwegian metal. And there's some like Norwegian Viking metal bands that I absolutely love. But like one of my most memorable family trips was actually going to Norway and going to the Norwegian fjords. So, and you know what? I just want to say the Norwegian people are amazing. Like, we had a blast everywhere we went. If we ever had a question or something, like, the just Norwegian people, so amazing, so hospitable, beautiful culture, beautiful country. I love the whole Viking thing. Like, the Viking thing is fantastic. So yeah. I mean, it's unfortunately, and I've noticed this, like, there are so many countries where the left has sort of taken over, and it's a shame, right? Because I mean, just look at Canada, for example. Like, look at Mark Carney. Like, Mark Carney is like total globalist that supports China over the United States, right? So I'm currently ashamed of the Canadian government because, as a Canadian, I cannot even believe that the Canadian government is actually supporting the Islamic regime, right? So we're in the same, we're in the same situation here. But I just want to make it very clear, when I speak about a country or something, I'm only referring to the government and the policies, not the people, because the vast majority of people are good, and the vast majority of people, support freedom and are patriots. So I just wanted to let you know. And yeah, Norway is a beautiful country. Guys, if anyone has an opportunity, go check out the Norwegian fjords, because they are, oh my gosh, it's like a once in a lifetime thing. I think I posted a video a few years ago. I'm pretty sure I posted a video of like my trip to like the Norwegian fjords. Like, we did like this sort of like 2-hour cruise thing, and it was so good. It was so good. Wily Coyote, I'm cheap also, but I believe in tipping at 20%. Thank you. Oh my gosh. You guys are so funny. Push-ups. I wouldn't say Trump speaks through Mark and Graham and so on, but he listens to him. I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, maybe yes, maybe no, right? Because like I've kind of been monitoring certain people, and given what I know about politics and how things kind of work behind the scenes, when people that are very close to President Trump share certain messages, and then eventually those messages is like what ends up happening or what Trump ends up doing, right? It's almost like he's laying the groundwork here. And the reason that I say this is because, I was in politics for 10 years. So it's like I've seen this happen behind the scenes where, people who are in power will go to someone and be like, okay, I want you to publish this story. I'm going to leak this information to you, push this narrative, do this, do that. Guys, even like it happened to me, like I had to do it a few times as well. So that's why I'm saying, I feel like there's kind of more behind it. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong. But yeah, there we go. But so let's watch this interview with Senator Lindsey Graham, because this is why I feel like there's more going on behind the scenes.
We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
How do you interpret this? Because I think you and I both would agree. On paper, the top geopolitical foe of the U.S. is China. However, you see this, you see America's best and brightest business minds. They're all here in Beijing. They're all going to be at those meetings. It seems a lot of this is based on mutual interest financially, especially.
Yeah, I think so. Number one, I'm glad President Trump is representing our country. He's the right guy to do deals. He's a deal maker. And I think he'll come out of this summit with a lot of business opportunity, getting into China's markets that have been closed. They could buy a lot from our American farmer to help the American farm economy. We can do things to help them. They can do things to help us. We got the A-team from an American point of view. But I'm not thinking about happy children when I think about China. This is going to be judged by me, if China still buys 90% of Iranian oil. They still are the number one purchaser of Russian oil and gas. When this summit is over and we do nothing about it, we'll made a big mistake. So he's sitting across. President Trump is trying to be charming, and he's a very effective man. China's put on a hell of a show, but I'm going to judge a summit by what China does. Xi could pick up the phone and end the Russian-Ukraine war. He could pick up the phone and end the Iran conflict if he chose to. Without China buying Iran oil, they would be out of business. The number one purchaser of Russian oil and gas, propping up Putin, is China. And my message to President Trump is that we have your back. And if China continues to do this, well, without paying a price for disrupting the world, then we'll have made a huge mistake. I've got legislation that will allow President Trump to put tariffs on China for buying Russian oil and gas, and I'll do the same thing for Iran down the road. The only thing China respects is strength. So when this is over, if they're still doing the same damn thing with Iran and Russia, and we don't punish China, we've made a mistake.
Let's talk a little bit about what would their alternative be, Senator? In other words, I think maybe it's an opportunity we really haven't spent a lot of time talking about. Sure. You're right. About 90% of the oil they get from Iran. They want those Strait of Hormuz open. It was pretty fascinating when a Chinese tanker was hit in the Strait of Hormuz. That was shocking. Maybe the one remaining ally and friend that the Iranians have at this time. And clearly there is this unholy alliance. You have Vladimir Putin, you have Russia, you have Iran, you have North Korea that have been in an alliance. The reports, it will not be ignored by President Trump. I'm sure it will come up that the Chinese have been assisting the Iranians in this conflict.
Right? So, guys, they're talking about the Chinese assisting the Iranians. Again, what they mean is the CCP assisting the Islamic regime.
I guess, is that a prerequisite to doing other business deals in your mind?
No, I think you got to do two things at once. You try to build up the economic relationship, because over time that can change things. When you do business with people, you tend to look at them differently over time. But here's the problem. You name the allies of China, they're all dirtbags. They're aligned with the worst people in the world. They're buying oil cheaply from Iran, keeping their war machine going. Same thing with Russia. If China stopped buying Iranian oil or threatened to do it, the war in Iran would be over. All I'm asking China to do is help us open up the Strait of Hormuz, help us stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, because I think they would use it, help us end the bloodbath in Russia, Ukraine, that is hurting the world economy. If you help us, I will be very grateful. If you don't help us and you continue to prop up these regimes, I will do business with you on Monday and put tariffs on you on Tuesday. And the only thing China understands is what I just said. Xi is not a crazy man. He's not irrational. If he believed President Trump would crush his economy, the Chinese economy, for propping up Putin and Iran, I think he would change his behavior. You don't need to threaten him directly, but you need to make it real to him.
Senator, we have a printout of what.
Okay, so we'll get back to this interview in a moment. I think Jesse Waters is about to go live. But before we do that, we have a very, very interesting and important super chat. So Tom for Life is asking, Goldie, the IRGC hijacked the privately owned Chinese vessel Huichuan today in the Strait. Do you think they feel China sold them out? Thanks. Thumbs up, American flag. Yes, 100%. So here's the thing. The Islamic regime, okay? The Islamic regime is not the powerhouse that they think they are. The only reason that the Islamic regime has lasted this long is because the world powers have allowed them to. The Islamic regime is now realizing that they're not actually a superpower. They're not the axis of resistance. I mean, look, they have no navy. They have no, military. They have no, nothing, right? Everything has been destroyed by the United States and Israel. The Islamic regime assumed that, China, the CCP, was their ally. However, the way that the CCP looks at the Islamic regime is not as an equal, not as an ally. They look at the Islamic regime as just another, piece on the chessboard, right? They're just another pawn in the game of chess, right? So the Islamic regime is sort of waking up to the fact and the realization that they're not as important as they thought they were, and the allies that they thought that they had are not actually there. If you recall, let me write this down because I think Jesse Waters is starting soon. I want to go that live, but there was an interview from Adok Chi with NBC, and he was asked about their allies. I'm going to try to find the clip and bring it up momentarily. Okay, here we go. Let's get to the breaking news, and then we'll get back to that. I will return to this in a moment.
47's in the temple of heaven, but is he about to raise hell?
I think so.
Are you saying you live in that trailer?
I don't live anywhere, is what I'm saying. I don't have a house. They burned it down, Harvey.
Spencer Pratt takes on the world.
Lady, I'm gonna eat you alive right now.
Hello. Hi.
Whoa! What is
I am
this?
a drag queen. I am an activist. I am a substitute teacher.
Happy DEI Thursday. Plus, let's hear it.
That was traumatizing.
USA.
Okay, this is fine.
Fox News alert, Beijing is drenched in pageantry for the Trump trip. He's the first president in 50 years to walk through the Temple of Heaven. Ford was the last one in. The Confucian Temple, built in the 1400s during the Ming Dynasty. Only the emperor was allowed to step inside. It's where he prayed for good weather. Trump, a Protestant, went inside and made it rain. More on that later. First, the party started at China's Great Hall, right across the street from Tiananmen Square. Trump wasn't in a tank, he was in the Beast, and pulled up to shake hands with Xi. And it was a long shake, 15 seconds. Some friendly patting. Both men stood still. No one leaned in. Who won? Some call it a draw, but Xi did release first. And then Trump hit him with a little pat in the back. Body language experts say that was a power move. The fashion police noticed that POTUS rocked a red tie, which experts say aligned visually with the dominant ceremonial palette of China. Xi wore a purple tie to evoke the symbolism of the purple forbidden city, the center of Chinese power. Didn't see a lot of hostility. Diplomats on the ground actually say there was a lot of chemistry. Xi, who tends to be more reserved in public, put on a show.
Guys, I just want to say, keep in mind how many American flags you saw there. I will talk about this soon.
The president was most impressed by this.
I think I was particularly impressed by those children. They were happy. They were beautiful. The military is obvious. It couldn't be better, but those children were amazing.
People say the ceremony was more jovial, conversational, and personally interactive than Trump's last visit in 2017. A lot more smiles this time. But body language experts say Trump showed gravitas and stayed focused. Quote, I think that Trump feels the power, feels like this is a formidable meeting. He is not intimidated by Xi at all. He's showing, kind of like a peacock or a lion, he's showing his power. Trump brought that energy into his meeting. The two men spoke for 2 hours and 15 minutes, longer than expected.
How were your talks, sir?
It's great.
Did you talk about
Great place. Incredible. China's beautiful.
Yeah.
Xi said some beautiful words, too.
Both China and the United States stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. Our two countries should be partners rather than rivals.
There was a little bit of a skirmish, though, not between Xi and Trump, but between Secret Service and the Chinese police. They say it was a Chinese version of a Mexican standoff, a Chexican standoff.
There have been some heated and physical clashes between the Secret Service and the Chinese police on basically at the back doors of these events, including one very physical standoff where a Secret Service officer was being prevented from taking his weapon in as part of the protective detail. But things have all been ironed out. And as far as we know, the schedule has not been changed because of that.
But they patched it up by dinner time. Xi even had his musicians play an instrumental version of the YMCA, although there was no dancing. Not that kind of party. And the food? Guests started off with lobster and tomato soup, followed by a pan-fried pork bun, or better known in Chinese as a shengjianbao. Entrees? A choice of crispy beef ribs, a suckling Beijing roast duck, or a slow-cooked salmon in mustard sauce. For dessert, a trumpet shell-shaped pastry. Get it? And tiramisu, which we're pretty sure is Italian. Here's the president's toast.
Tonight, it is my honor to extend an invitation to you and Madam Peng to visit us at the White House this September 24th, and we look forward to it. And I'd now like to raise a glass and propose a toast to the rich and enduring ties between the American and Chinese people. It's a very special relationship, and I want to thank you again. This has been an amazing period of time. Thank you, President Xi.
Out of respect, the president, who doesn't drink, imagine if he did, even took a sip of champagne. Trump, though, had his glass served by an American waiter. Both sides made sure the other side didn't get their fingerprints or DNA. All custom. The White House is taking all the necessary protocols. They're all using burner phones this week. But despite everything, Trump says our two nations have more things in common than not.
As allies in World War II, President Franklin Roosevelt's mentions of the brave people of China. That's what they were. Drew loud cheers in his speeches in the United States, and everybody loved what he had to say. Just as many Chinese now love basketball and blue jeans. Chinese restaurants in America today outnumber the 5 largest fast food chains in the United States, all combined. That's a pretty big statement.
There's one thing that both men understand very well: money.
The people of China and the United States are both great peoples. Achieving the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and making America great again can go hand in hand. We can help each other succeed and advance the well-being of the whole world.
Xi told Trump China's open for business, even wider than before. We hope that's true because that's music to the president's ears.
So I'm in China. We had the greatest CEOs in the whole world. We had about 30 of them, and they were pitching President Xi on doing business in China. I think they were successful.
Musk was there, even brought his son, X. Elon says X is learning Mandarin. Jesse Jr. is learning Spanish. And the Doge Master was kind of a celebrity. Everyone lining up to take pictures with the world's richest man, even Apple's Tim Cook. The feeling among the business community, upbeat. NVIDIA's CEO, AKA the chip guy, he was there and he was pumped.
President Trump and President Xi have a wonderful relationship, and we have great hopes that we will build upon their great relationship and improve the relationship of our two nations.
NVIDIA's coming home with a pretty big deal. The White House just gave them the green light to sell their AI chips to China, but remember, not the best ones. They'll still be happy. Bessent says he's going to make China play by the rules so that we don't all get slaughtered by robots.
The U.S. is the undisputed leader in the world here. We have the greatest AI companies. We're actually going to be discussing the AI guardrails with the Chinese. We're going to set up a protocol in terms of how do we go forward with best practices for AI to make sure non-state actors don't get a hold of these models.
By getting in business with the Chinese, we're hoping it makes them less hungry for Taiwan. China doesn't have the chip tech to beat us in the AI race, and the island's producing about 90% of the world's best semiconductors. And the Chinese have been salivating over Taiwan for geographic reasons, historical reasons. But now that it's an AI island, if they can't hack them, they just want to grab them. But we told them, pause off.
China wants to invade Taiwan?
Well, I think China's preference is probably to have Taiwan willingly, voluntarily join them. In a perfect world, what they would want is some vote or a referendum in Taiwan that agrees to fold in. I think that's what they would prefer. Ultimately, it's featured prominently in President Xi's mandate. In the time he's been in office, he's made clear that what they call reunification, that's what they call it, is something that has to happen at some point. We think it would be a terrible mistake to force that through force or anything of that nature. There would be repercussions for that globally, not just from the United States.
The Chinese want to boom, but we can boom together. We already opened our country up, and they didn't. No more suckers. The Chinese are also buying more soybeans and energy. And by the way, Trump and Xi talked about Iran. We'll cover that in the next block. And while we're at it, how about some big, beautiful Boeings?
What did you want from the U.S.?
A lot of things. We talked about a lot of things. Too many things to discuss, but a lot of things. We had a very good meeting, but we want things from them. One thing he agreed to today is going to order 200 jets. That's a big thing, Boeing. 200 big ones. That's a lot of jobs. It's a lot. Boeing wanted 150. He got 200. He said, I think it was a commitment. I mean, sort of like a statement, but I think it was a commitment.
The markets love it. The Dow topped 50,000 today, first time since before the war. And the S&P and NASDAQ surging to fresh record highs. This time, though, Trump has tariffs and domestic supply chains to protect American jobs and factories. Hopefully, this is the last time we get ripped off.
We're not trying to constrain China, but their rise cannot come at our expense. Their rise cannot come at our fall. So there's an area where we're just going to have a difference of opinion. But when that plan is in conflict with the national interest of the United States, we need to do what's right for the United States.
Xi told the president something very interesting. Quote, "The world has come to a new crossroads. Can China and the U.S. overcome the Thucydides trap?" Now, he's referring to the war between Athens and Sparta. Athens was the established power, and Sparta was the younger upstart. They ended up fighting a vicious war, with Sparta winning. The Chinese see themselves as an ancient power, and the United States as a young rising one, and want to avoid direct military conflict. That is probably until they think they're more powerful than us, but we'll see. Trump had a different interpretation. Quote, "When President Xi very elegantly referred to the United States as perhaps being a declining nation, he was referring to the tremendous damage we suffered during the 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden and the Biden administration. And on that score, he was 100% correct. But now the United States is the hottest nation anywhere in the world, and hopefully our relationship with China will be stronger and better than ever before." Peter Doocy is our senior White House correspondent. How you doing over there in China, Peter?
Doing great. You know, it's funny because, Jesse, there's all this talk about American companies want to come into China, and Xi, I guess, told some of these CEOs that China will open wider for them. But within like 700 feet of where I am standing right now, there is a McDonald's, there is a Starbucks, there is a Crocs store. And I can report, because I was exploring for a segment that I'm going to do on my Sunday show. At McDonald's here, you can get crispy bone-in wings that are pretty good. At Starbucks, you can get a lasagna for lunch, which is different than back home. As for the Crocs, the Crocs look the same here, as they do back home.
Lasagna at Starbucks. That sounds risky. But if a billion Chinese people have tried it before me, I'm sure it is quite delicious. You know, Peter, once you get them hooked on American fast food, it's over. They'll pretty much do whatever we want. What is the we saw a little skirmish. I think you reported on it. Has it been tense at times?
My own experience with that, it wasn't a skirmish as much as a major, many different things got lost in translation. We went over near Tiananmen Square yesterday to this very grand welcome for President Trump. And I was standing just a few feet away from President Trump and Xi. When the kids started jumping up and down and cheering and waving flags, President Trump had about as big a smile on his face as I have seen. And my job is to look at his face every day. But when we were leaving there, an official pointed to the big charter bus that they had and said, "Okay, get on the bus." So I was the first one on the bus, and I heard the door close, and it just took off. And it was nobody but me and a driver that had no idea what I was telling him, which was, I would like to get off now. And the rest of the press corps just got smaller and smaller in the rear view mirror. But we figured it out, and we picked everybody up. So it seems like there are these big security plans, but a lot of stuff still gets lost in translation. And there are big security concerns for Xi's people and for Trump's people, and just nobody wants to make a mistake, especially because they're doing a lot of outdoor events, and it's the two superpowers both together, which we haven't seen since Xi came to San Francisco. And that was, of course, the trip when Gavin Newsom famously cleaned up like 4 square blocks of that city.
Right. I don't think I'm assuming too much here, Peter, but when the rest of the press car saw you were leaving alone in a bus going somewhere, they were probably pretty happy. I'm sure.
Yeah, I told my producer, hey, CNN didn't lose their reporter in China.
Yeah, of all the people that go missing in China, I think they were pretty happy it was Peter Doocy. All right, Peter, have fun and stay safe. Don't get into any more buses with just one driver.
Jesse.
Peter Schweitzer, the president of the Government Accountability Institute. You know, we laugh about it, and it's fun. You get these jumping Chinese kids putting on quite a show, but there's some real hardcore issues at stake here. Yeah. What's your takeaway from the summit, Peter?
Well, I think, you know, China pulled out all the stops for President Trump. They didn't do it because they like him. They did it because they respect him and they kind of fear him. They have disliked American presidents in the past. They did not like Barack Obama. Barack Obama, they felt, was condescending and was sort of dismissing them in an arrogant way. And you remember in September of 2016, they didn't pull the stairway up in front of Air Force One. So he had to climb out of what the Guardian magazine in the UK called the ass of Air Force One. He had to go down the back steps. It was an example of disrespect. They would never do that to Donald Trump in a million years because they know Trump wouldn't tolerate it. So Trump came in, I think, demonstrated strength. He's also rejiggered the economic relationship, I think, in a very positive way. This delegation of CEOs that came with him, it conveys to China, look, they're with me, I'm with them. This is my posse. These are these dynamic companies that are excelling America forward. But also, Jesse, it conveys to these CEOs, you're American companies. You're not multinational corporations. You're not going to cut these kind of co-production deals that benefit our enemies anymore. So it makes him the convening authority in commercial relationships with China, which is exactly what you want when you're dealing with an adversary like Beijing.
That's such a great point because United States CEOs kind of hosed the American worker the last 25 years. And we're still paying the price for that. You know, the Chinese make a lot of promises, Peter. They say this, they say that. They don't always follow through. Do you think this time's different? Xi says he's going to be open for business. Does he mean it?
No, he doesn't mean it. And I think Donald Trump knows it. Trump understands that words are a way to communicate information, but they can also be weapons, strategic weapons. So China's making promises it's not going to keep. But Trump understands that. That's the important thing.
Okay. All right, Peter. Good to talk to you. Thank you so much. The gay Ayatollah just opened up a fortune cookie. What does it say? Next.
I cannot get over the fact that he calls, Jesse Waters calls Khamenei the gay Ayatollah. Okay, guys, let me go to, wait, what's going on here? Because we don't want Fox News commercials. Okay, so let me go back to the super chat. Let me just pull this up really quick here. Okay, so I'm monitoring the Fox News live feed. We'll go back to that. So before Jesse Waters began, Tom for Life was asking, Goldie, the IRGC hijacked the privately owned Chinese vessel Huichuan today in the States. Do you think they feel China sold them out? Thanks. So yes, 100%. They believe that China sold them out. And I found the clip. So while we were watching that, guys, like I multitask like crazy. It's just something I do. So while we were watching that clip from Jesse Waters, I found the NBC interview with Arokchi from about 2 months ago. It was a few days after Khamenei was exterminated, and then here's the part where the reporter asks Arokchi. Remember, he's the foreign affairs minister of the Islamic regime. He asks him, what about your allies? So just listen to this response from a few months ago.
And we know that we can handle that. Are your allies Russia and China helping you?
Well, they are supporting us politically and otherwise.
Are they?
Are they supporting you militarily?
Are they?
Well, military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not a secret. We have worked with each other in the past, and that has continued.
There's literally no military cooperation between Russia and the Islamic regime, or between China and the Islamic regime.
Continued, and will continue. I guess.
And they're actively helping you in this war.
Well, they are. They have always helped us.
So I'm gonna understand that.
Do you see like the look of like the incredulous look on the reporter's face? Like he's just looking at Arokchi, and his brain is trying to process how to he's like, how do I even respond to like this nonsense, right? That Arokchi is talking about here, right? Okay, watch this again.
And we know that we can handle that.
Are your allies Russia and China helping you?
Well, they are supporting us politically and otherwise.
Are they supporting you militarily?
Well, military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not a secret. You know, we have worked with each other in the past, and that has continued. And will continue. I hope. I guess.
And they are actively helping you in this war?
Well, they are. They have always helped us.
So I'm gonna understand that to mean yes, that they are actively assisting you in this war.
Well, I'm not going to give the details of our cooperation with other countries right in the middle of the war.
Cooperation.
Inside Iran right now, we've heard that the government is cutting off the internet. Why are you closing off information for?
So that's basically what I wanted to share from there. And let me just go back to Fox News so that when it starts, we make sure we don't miss it. But all that to say, wait, what's going on here? Okay. All right, it's still. What are these weird American commercials and Americans? What's going on?
Talkie, I've got a cell phone. Cell phones are notoriously
Why are
unreliable during
Americans in like
and when you're in the middle of nowhere.
1800s selling
Plus,
cell
rapid
phones?
radios are great.
Americans, your commercials are weird. Your commercials are weird. I don't approve as a Canadian. Anyways, going back to the super chat. God, okay. So all this to say, yes, I do believe that the vessel taken by the IRGC, it's thought that China headquartered private security firm. So I know Matt Tardio. Guys, I'll try to bring Matt on. Matt's a good friend. We've communicated quite a bit. Matt, he's a former, he's a veteran. Great guy. I'll see if I can bring him on one time because his analysis is amazing, and I've known him for a while. He's been on a few of my X spaces back when I used to do Twitter spaces. So anyways, he says it's thought China. Oh, wait, we're back. Okay.
Have all China's friends in the headline. Their favorite gas stations, Iran and Venezuela, are offline. Now Xi's sitting down with Trump, and he says he wants to fill up the tank.
China's support of Iran. How big a discussion was that today?
We discussed it. When you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that. He'd like to see Hormuz Strait opened.
China wants oil, chips, and lower tariffs. So we have a lot of leverage. And Xi said, well, how can I help?
President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer, he said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because,
he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help. If I can be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I could be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
We're watching a diplomatic dance. Neither guy can look needy.
He didn't ask him for anything. We're not asking for China's help. We don't need their help. Our position is very clear. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Back at home, the media still thinks the gay Ayatollah is winning. The New York Times, Washington Post say Iran still has most of its missiles. Now, these could be deep state leaks, worst case scenario, trying to get Trump back in the war for money and regime change. But our military's top brass said today it's not accurate. We destroyed Iran in record time.
The numbers that I've seen in open source are not accurate. I think what also is not taken into consideration, it's more than just the numbers. It's the command and control that's been shattered. In less than 40 days, CENTCOM forces achieved our military objectives. Most notably, we degraded Iran's ability to project power outside its borders and threaten the region and threaten our interests.
They mostly have drones left, and we figured out how to shoot them down for cheap.
So those days of using high-value defenses to shoot down cheap targets are behind us. Quite the contrary, what we have been doing lately is using our own low-cost one-way attack drones, attacking Iran, making them use higher and more expensive weapons.
The regime's getting desperate. Kuwait says they arrested 4 guard guys who tried to sneak into their country. And they're still causing trouble in the Strait. The Brits said one of their ships was seized. And an Indian vessel carrying goats reportedly sank after getting hit with a drone. But traffic's actually up. Cargo ships are turning off their radar to sail through dark. At least 18 ships made it out this week. Some from Japan, some from India, and our wall of steel's holding strong. 70 cargo ships were turned around. 90% of Iran's sea mines destroyed. And their mosquitoes, they're getting swatted.
Capability have been significantly degraded. If I just use my own professional experience, in 100 transits through the Strait of Hormuz, you would typically see 20 to 40 fast boats, and lately we've seen 2 or 3.
They went from swarming the strait to hiding in the shadows. Now the Iranians are choking on their own oil.
Karg Island. We've seen that there have been no loadings in the past 3 days. We believe their storage is full. None of the ships are getting out. None are coming in, so they're not able to store oil on the water. So they're going to start shutting down their production. I think that they are on their last legs, and the blockade, President Trump's blockade, has been a resounding success.
Cuba could be next. They just said they ran out of oil. The country's experiencing blackouts. And today, our CIA director's in Havana holding a secret meeting. He told them we're going to be open to working together, but they need to change. If Venezuela can get it together, so can Cuba. Just remember, Havana's just a short flight from Palm Beach. Philip Breedlove's a retired Air Force general and Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. When you hear, General, the Chinese leaders say, oh, yeah, we'll help out opening up the strait, getting a deal, is that a real offer?
No.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jesse. And I think it's one of those don't trust and continue to verify, because we still haven't seen them close all the deals they made in their last meeting with our president. And it would be good to see that happen before any of the new deal making is done. And frankly, I think that Mr. Xi is trying to pull a veil over the fact that they have been supporting Iran so forth. Dual use items, some of their technologies for missiles and things are all in this fight and being fired at us in the West. So if he would simply shut down all that support that they're currently doing, that's a good start. But if he actually contributes to opening the straits, that would be wonderful, but it seems a bit too far.
When you hear Bessent say Karg Island's like max capacity, what would you do with that intel?
Well, Karg Island is an opportunity. It is an opportunity that has to be used judicially. You know, we still want the people of Iran to rise up and to be a great nation when they're out from under this horrible regime that is running them. So when we start to attrit things like some of the pieces of Karg Island and others, we are now putting Iran in a long recovery period, which is going to make it hard for the good guys to rise up. So we've got tough decisions to make. We could easily take Karg Island away from them, but is it the right thing to do? That's the tough problem that our leadership is facing right now.
Do you think they're considering another love tap?
Well, I think that we have basically two choices at this point. You know, Iran is exerting some amount of control of what's going on in the straits. We obviously are controlling much of what's going on in the straits. It would be nice to further attrit their ability to control the straits. And that's one love tap that could be considered. The other is all this time that we've had this quote unquote ceasefire, Iran has been building back. And we know they've brought up a certain number of their missile firing positions. And it may be the time to go back and revisit the catching up that they did during this time of no bombing.
All right. Well, the president will be back stateside pretty shortly, and we'll see what he does. General, thank you as always. We appreciate it. Johnny talks politics at the Springsteen concert.
Do you like Bruce's politics?
I am a fan of his politics. I'm a liberal.
I would have never guessed.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for. Oh God, Americans, your commercials are so weird. Why? Why do you guys have weird commercials? Okay, that's it for I think everything relating to Iran and China on Fox News. Oh no, my browser lost audio. Okay, I need to reshare. Let me just reshare my screen because sometimes this happens. All right. So I'm pretty sure that's pretty much it for how do I do this? How does this work? This is not max screen. I don't know what's going on here. Wait. Oh, I don't want that. There we go. Okay. So that's pretty much it for Fox News for now, but we will go back when President Trump's interview starts. So okay, now we can go back and I can answer all of your super chats. Thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate that. So going back to what Tom for Life was saying. So Adolchi and the Islamic regime always assumed that they were equals. Okay. However, we just watched this clip from a few months ago where the reporter from NBC is asking the foreign affairs minister of the Islamic regime, well, what are your allies doing to help you? And his response is, oh, it's symbolic help. Oh, we're not going to give it away. And I have a feeling that what's happening today is because of President Trump's visit to China. So going back to Matt Tardio's post, it's thought that China-headquartered private security firm Sinoguards is using Huichuan as a floating armory. Last week, Iran struck a Chinese-owned ship following the Iranian foreign minister's trip to China. Today, it was announced that China does not support Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz. It appears the IRGC is retaliating against China. So, yes, I know you guys may not have known this, but last week, here is Adolchi, and he went to China in advance of President Trump going to China because I guess the Islamic regime thought that they could go and somehow, convince the Chinese to continue their allyship or whatever. But here's the thing. The Islamic regime has always made the mistake of thinking that they're a global superpower. They're not. They're not. Guys, I mean, look, again, their military is destroyed. I feel like I sound like President Trump when I say this. I'm just repeating President Trump. Military is destroyed. So the army, Navy, Air Force, everything is destroyed. It's a paper tiger. The only thing the Islamic regime is good at is the only thing the Islamic regime is good at is murdering Iranian people, right? That's the only thing that they're good at doing. But when it comes to geopolitical issues, they're nothing. And I think the Islamic regime is realizing that today because Adolchi went to China thinking that he's going there as an equal. No. Adolchi went to China and he is there as basically just a pawn on the chessboard, right? So the Islamic regime to China is nothing but a piece on the chessboard. And this is because the Islamic regime is completely irrelevant and they have destroyed Iran and they have destroyed the reputation of Iran because prior to 1979, Iran was a respectable country and now it's not. And Adolchi is now feeling that, which is why I have a feeling that, they're retaliating against China because of the fact that China, right? Guys, China is not going to get into a military or economic battle with the United States over the Islamic regime, right? The Islamic regime is not that important to China. I mean, yes, it's important. Yes, of course, for China, it is economically advantageous for the Islamic regime to be there because the Islamic regime is pretty much giving oil away to China, right? 90% of the Islamic regime's oil, I think, or like goes to China or something. And it goes at a very, very low price, right? And the Chinese also invest billions of dollars in Iran, in like Islamic regime companies, infrastructure, all that stuff. So yes, there is a vested economic interest for the Islamic regime to stick around. However, that interest for the Islamic regime to stick around does not supersede the CCP's desire to stick around, right? So that's what the Islamic regime is realizing now. The Islamic regime is realizing and understanding that China has never viewed the Islamic regime as an equal or an ally. China has viewed the Islamic regime as a pawn. And this is why they're now attacking these Chinese ships. However, again, a lot of the weapons that the Islamic regime has purchased comes from China. They're Temu grade, so who knows? But that's essentially, sorry. So that's sort of in a nutshell. So yes, absolutely. The Islamic regime 100% feels like China sold them out. In fact, the Islamic regime has felt this way for quite a while. And this goes back to, let me play this again, because this is when was this? So this interview was from March 6th, literally like just over 2 months ago, right? Just over 2 months ago, where this is just a few days after the United States and Israel attacked the Islamic regime. They exterminated Khamenei, the supreme dictator. Everyone's in a state of frenzy. Everyone is in a state of everyone is panicking. And Arakchi is now going on NBC. And, when he's being asked about his, the allies of the Islamic regime, he can't even give a straight answer. He's just like, oh yeah, they're helping. We're not going to give it away, right? He's totally bluffing.
Well, they have always helped us.
So I'm gonna understand that to mean yes, that they are actively assisting you in this war.
Well, I'm not going to give the details of our cooperation with other countries right in the middle of the war.
Inside Iran right now, we've heard that the government is cutting off the internet. Why are you closing off information for the Iranian population while this crisis is unfolding?
Well, this is not the case. Almost, all Iranians have access to social networks.
Oh, wait, sorry, that wasn't the right one. Okay, sorry, it was here.
Are your allies Russia and China helping you?
Well, they are supporting us politically and otherwise.
Are they supporting you militarily?
Well, military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not a secret. We have worked with each other in the past, and that has continued. And will continue. I guess.
I hope. I guess. And I love that Freudian slip. He's like, "Oh, they will continue. I hope. I guess." Except, look, literally what happened 2 months later. 2 months later, the Islamic regime. So last week, Arakchi, that's the same guy in the interview. Last week, he goes to China to try and, firm the commitment of their allyship or whatever. And now, literally today, they're attacking Chinese ships. So there you go. That's the current situation. Oh, I lost audio again. What's going on? Sorry, guys, this happens sometimes. It's like an issue with the streaming software. All right, so there you go. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let me go to the next super chat. Push-ups, maybe, but if you asked Mark, that's what he'd tell you. Oh no, I agree. Listen, like people who are close to President Trump, they're not going to give away. They're not going to give it away. I mean, that would be like the equivalent of, like the media asking President Trump what his war plans are. He's not going to give it away. But I agree with you on that. Karen Beadle, I hope you don't mind. I gave TBN Israel your info for an interview. They interviewed an Iranian lady today, trying to get more info on Iran. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, like, I mean, my email is public. So my email is info@geopolitics.com. Like you can find it on all my social media profiles. So, I mean, even if you go to like my YouTube website, here, I'll just pull it up here. So, like, when you go to my YouTube website, like it's right there, info@geopolitics.com. That email is also on like my Rumble, my X, like all my social media platforms. So, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. Very, very thoughtful and kind of you to do that. Okay, let's go to the next super chat. DUE2U. Wow, Goldie's Cheesecake Fund. Oh my gosh, that's a huge cheesecake fund. Guys, this is not a mukbang channel. Is that how it's pronounced? It's not a mukbang channel. Guys, I love cheesecake, but I don't love cheesecake that much. I mean, maybe I do. I don't know. But that's really kind of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But guys, I did not forget. I actually did order some egg rolls because remember, guys, last night when we were watching all of those like videos about China, we were all craving Chinese food. And then I said, guys, let's do a President Trump interview watch party tomorrow night, and we'll all like eat some Chinese food. So I actually ordered some egg rolls, and I think they might have arrived already. I have to go get them. I'll get them in a moment. But yeah, I do have some egg rolls. So yeah, it's going to be like a Chinese food watch party while we watch President Trump's interview. Push-ups. I wonder if nod to Chiang Kai-shek was intentional. I mean, it could have been. It could have been. For people who don't know, Chiang Kai-shek, he was a Chinese military commander, revolutionary, and statesman who was president of the Republic of China from 1948 to 1975. I'm not as familiar with Chinese political history because, I focused more on Iran, of course, and I'm still learning more about Iran every single day. But I mean, it could have been. It could have been. I'd love to, hear your thoughts on that. Okay. Super backers. Goldie, do you think this could be bigger than Iran? Could the downfall of the Islamic regime also free the Europeans? Seems like it's all connected. Thank you. Guys, 100%. Iran, like the Islamic regime occupying Iran is just the next domino. And I have a feeling that President Trump's ultimate goal is China and Russia, right? Like President Trump wants to leave a lasting legacy, and overthrowing the Islamic regime is just the next step in terms of going after China and Russia. And of course, when Iran is free from the Islamic regime, that will certainly help Europe and European countries. However, you guys have a very big problem because you have imported a lot of like Durka jihadi Muslims into your countries. And they're not necessarily Iranian, but they support the Islamic regime. Because keep in mind, those of you who've been watching Iran Revolution Live, those of you who've been watching my live streams from before, you guys know the vast majority of people who support the Islamic regime are not even Iranian. They're not Iranian. They're like Palestinian, they're Hezbollah, they're Afghani, they're Pakistani, they're, Arab. There's videos of like Nigerian Muslims and I don't know, like Bangladeshis and like Ugandan Muslims, right? So the Islamic regime is a foreign occupying force, and they have occupied Iran for the last 47 years, and they're using Iran as an ATM to fund their jihad. So, I mean, Iran will be free sooner rather than later. That will certainly help with the European situation, but unfortunately, your politicians have imported a whole bunch of these third world savages under the guise of multiculturalism and diversity, and they are taking over your countries. So, you know, for us Iranians, what we see happening in Europe right now, this is kind of like what was happening in Iran back in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then all of a sudden they just take over, and then your country becomes a third world Sharia hellhole. Yeah. So guys, like it's you need to fight back. You need to fight back. You need to, right? And I say this as an immigrant. I say this as a Canadian immigrant, right? Like I was born in Iran. My parents came to Canada to escape like an Islamic dictatorship. When people immigrate to another country, they should immigrate with the understanding that you need to accept the values of that country and assimilate. If you immigrate to a country, but you don't accept the values, you don't accept the laws, you don't accept the beliefs, you want people to cater to your values, just stay home. Like why would you immigrate to a country if you don't want to live the way that the country lives, right? Like, why would you immigrate to a country and then take your third world ideology with you to that country? Like, why? Like, did it not occur to you that maybe the country that you're leaving is a third world hellhole because of your ideology, because of your values, right? Maybe the country you're immigrating to is better because they have different values, right? Like, I don't know. But if you say this, well, you're racist, which, you know, I'm just sick and tired of that, you know, woke progressive nonsense. So there you go. Coy Stallings, did I see Trump's truth? Yes, I did. I've been meaning to get to that. So this is actually the perfect opportunity to get to President Trump's Truth Social post. So President Trump posted, and this is very interesting, guys. When President Xi very elegantly referred to the United States as perhaps being a declining nation, he was referring to the tremendous damage that we suffered during the 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden and the Biden administration. And on that score, he was 100% correct. Our country suffered immeasurably with open borders, high taxes, transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, DEI, horrible trade deals, rampant crime, and so much more. President Xi was not referring to the incredible rise that the United States has displayed to the world during the 16 spectacular months of the Trump administration, which includes all-time high stock markets and 401ks, military victory, and thriving relationship in Venezuela, the military decimation of Iran, to be continued, guys. He said to be continued. Yes, guys, music to my ears. Guys, President Trump is confirming that the military decimation of Iran, I mean, he means the Islamic regime, right? Islamic regime occupying Iran, to be continued. Yes. Strongest military on earth by far, economic powerhouse again, with a record $18 trillion being invested into the United States by others, best U.S. job market in history, with more people working in the U.S. right now than ever before, ending country-destroying DEI. Guys, I just spoke about this. I just spoke about how DEI, right? Like when you're mass importing people based on DEI, and these people are not willing to assimilate and integrate and embrace the values of your country and society, like that's country destroying. Guys, President Trump just said it. Guys, President Trump agrees with me. Country destroying DEI. And so many other things that it would be impossible to readily list. In fact, President Xi congratulated me on so many tremendous successes in such a short period of time. 2 years ago, we were, in fact, a nation in decline. On that, I fully agree with President Xi. But now, the United States is the hottest nation anywhere in the world, and hopefully, our relationship with China will be stronger and better than ever before. Very interesting, guys. Very interesting. Thank you, Dawn, for reminding me to share that. I think this is really good to read now, right before we get to President Trump's exclusive interview with Sean Hannity. For America's Flag Original says Javid Shah Imperial. Thank you. That's very, very kind of you. Roman Viking 95. What do you think about the treatment of Uyghurs in Xinjiang? What can we learn for treatment of Islamists in the West? Whatnot? I mean, I think the persecution of Uyghurs is horrific because the Uyghurs are not Islamists. The Uyghurs are just practicing Muslims. The CCP, and Marco Rubio has spoken out a lot about the persecution of Uyghurs. So, guys, I am I'm not for just persecuting people. There's a difference between people who just want to live their lives and practice their faith versus political Islam and jihad. And I think the persecution and treatment of Uyghurs is horrific. And there are some very important people speaking out against it, like Marco Rubio. And I support what Marco Rubio says. I support Marco Rubio's position because ultimately, we should, freedom of religion is a fundamental right, as long as that religion is not imposing on anyone else, and the Uyghurs are not imposing on anyone else, and they are heavily persecuted. But I would say, if you want to learn more about the treatment of Uyghurs, go look up what Marco Rubio has said about that, because Marco Rubio is, very outspoken about this. Christian Evan Christensen, Swedish Vikings had some swords made of very good steel. Experts wondered how they got so good steel. Then they found out they bought the steel from Iran. Guys, I'm not surprised by that, because I have heard that there was like some, historical trade dealings between the Vikings and the Persians, two ancient civilizations. So I don't know how to say anything in like Viking-ish, but for Valhalla. There you go. For Valhalla. There you go. But Vikings are super cool. And I wouldn't be surprised by that, because Persian steel is pretty high quality. But that's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. Push-ups. Trump talking about China in World War II when Chang led. Okay, I'll have to go back and take a look at that and give my thoughts on that momentarily, because I know Sean Hannity is starting soon, but it could very well have been, a reference to that. Maybe we'll get more on that during Sean Hannity's interview with President Trump. Aaron Berger, tonight is the start of Yom Yerushalayim. It's been 59 years since Jerusalem became the unified capital of Israel during the 6-Day War. Wow. Okay. Happy, how do I say, is it happy Yom Yerushalayim? Wishing you guys all the best. Congratulations on the anniversary. And yeah, that 6-Day War was quite an ordeal. But Israel, one of the things that the Iranian people and Israeli people share in common is our survival, right? Like, despite all odds, despite everything that we've gone through, like, we're two very old civilizations and we have survived. So yeah, I'm Israel Chai. The major actual. True story. My apartment complex in the 90s got some new tenants. I found out that they were Somalis. After asking why the lights in their unit flickered on and off all night, they'd never seen electric lights. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by that. President Trump has spoken about his thoughts on Somalia. Daniel Benjamin, help support Israel in Eurovision. Okay, I don't know how to do that. I think you have to be European. Okay, so guys, for all the Europeans, well, I mean, that's not going to work. Daniel, that's not going to work because all the Europeans are going to be supporting their own countries. So, I mean, I think only Israelis are going to support Israel, right? Because the other Europeans, like, they're going to support their own countries. And then I can't really, I mean, I guess unless your country has been out of the is not in the finals or something, right? I don't know, guys. I don't watch Eurovision. I'm not really into like the music Grammy stuff. Like I'm like a pure political nerd. Televote. Okay, all right, guys. So let me put it this way: anyone who can, go vote. Anyone who can support Israel in Eurovision, go vote for them. There you go. Okay. My gosh, there's so many videos that I wanted to share with you guys, but President Trump's interview with Sean Hannity is starting soon, so I can't even do that now. Okay. All right, we're just gonna have to do this. Okay.
Shall I go again? Please don't.
Enjoy the pleasure of a masterfully crafted coffee and feel like an Italian barista at home.
I'll be right back.
Discover Lavazza.
I need to go get my egg
I need
rolls.
that one. That is my G flat.
I was tired of being told no. No to my dreams.
I had no idea if anyone would buy anything.
This is so wild that I actually, from a dream, started a business.
With kids still at home and a full-time job, taking care of mom was becoming a real challenge. I was so grateful to discover Visiting Angels. Mom's Visiting Angel helps her shower and dress, and she keeps an eye on mom's Alzheimer's. And our care manager gives me regular updates. Best of all, mom has a trusted companion who cares about her.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
Why are so many people buying a toothpaste that is so expensive? Because Dr. Wolf's Bionic is fortified with 20% hydroxyapatite that brushes on the enamel surface. Poor oral health is way more expensive. Dr. Wolf's Bionic, available at Amazon.
11 scientists.
She started talking about the threats.
11 mysteries.
These are not ordinary scientists.
A growing list.
We are a target.
Vanished. America's Missing Scientists. Streaming now on Fox Nation.
In the driveway this morning, I did wind sprints. Highly recommend it. You never know when you're going to be chased. Let's do text. Roger from Cold Spring, Texas. The Ayatollah's fortune cookie said, duck.
That's funny.
Marty from Antioch, Illinois. If Trump's red tie symbolizes power, what does your pink tie symbolize? This is not a pink tie.
Yes, it is.
Should be red.
It's totally pink.
Holly from Maniloki, New Jersey. It's pronounced Einstein.
Okay, really quick. Last super chat. So you can from international, works from New York. All right, there you go.
Welcome to Hannity as we broadcast from Beijing in China. Now, we will have President Trump for the full hour. I spoke with President Trump immediately following his very important meeting with President Xi, and we have a lot of ground to cover. So let's get started. President, thank you so much for sitting down. Your first interview, we appreciate it. Wow, they rolled out the red carpet. I have video of when Barack Hussein Obama came to China. There wasn't as much pageantry. From your perspective, that welcome, how did you interpret that?
Well, we have a relationship, he and I, and we've been working together a long time. We've gotten along well. When I first came here, China was really taking advantage of the United States. He understands that. And now we do great with China, and we have a very good relationship. We have a friendship, really. He's a tremendous leader. He's been here a long time, very powerful, very strong. There's no doubt about it. And we just have a good relationship. I did actually see other people arrive here that not treated so well, but we were treated very well.
So that was meaningful for you?
Well, I mean, if I got out of a plane and nobody was there to greet me, I would say that wouldn't be so cool, because it's really respect for our country. Our country is respected. Look, we're the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. But he and I know each other well, I think beyond maybe that. But we certainly got a very nice greeting, and today was beautiful.
Mr. President, if there was any meeting that I think I would want to be a part of, I would love to have been in that meeting. Rather than me start with a bunch of questions about this and that, and I do have specific questions, in your own words, how did this meeting go? Because I knew you were there a long time.
It was a long meeting. It started off interestingly because they're very organized people. And as you know, we have about 30 of the biggest business leaders in the world, biggest everything, you know, I mean, you name it, from chips to planes to everything. And they're all here. I didn't invite them. They all wanted to come. And they're all here. And I suggested that before we start the meeting, I'd like to introduce them to you. And they were surprised because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't scheduled. And they looked around, they said, well, and then, you know, we had everybody. I don't want to go into names because I'll leave some out. But there were a lot of guys.
Tim Cook, Elon Musk.
Yeah,
you know,
we had everybody.
The head of NVIDIA was
Jensen.
here.
We had just everybody. And men and women, all great businessmen, the best. And they said, okay. And they each spoke a little bit and introduced themselves. And it's interesting because they do business in China. Most of them do business here, but probably like to do more. And I'd like to see them do more. That would be good for trade and trade balance. And they were fantastic. I'll tell you, they really had a good time. Once the Chinese leadership, because it was President Xi and many other leaders, once they got used to the fact that we're a little off schedule here and we're talking about a subject that wasn't even thought about, but they were outside. I said, I think we can get them in 5 minutes, because they were literally, you know, a few minutes away from the room where we were in the Great Hall. We were in the Great Hall. And they came in and they did fantastically well. It was really good. I think it was, he actually said, that was very good. That was a good idea. But it was very different from what the schedule had. And then we went on. Then we talked about a lot of different subjects, and I think it was all good.
Let me ask you this. You know, you always say that you have a very good relationship with President Xi. And you say the same thing about Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
You're America first.
Yeah.
You seem to always understand he's going to be China first.
Yeah, totally.
And so
he's China first. He wants to make good deals. But having a good relationship is a good thing, not a bad thing. I explain to people, you know, it's great when you have good relationships with very powerful countries. They're powerful economically as well as we have the most. I built in my first term the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest military in the world. We proved that with Venezuela. We proved it with Iran. Iran's wiped out militarily. It's just a question of time. And, you know, we gave them a break by stopping a little while. We have a blockade. They have no boats are going in. No boats are even thinking about it. We talked about it today. It's very interesting. But they're impressed. We have a great military. We have the greatest military we've ever had, but we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. I built it in the first term. A little was given away by Biden to Afghanistan. And as much as it was a lot, but it's a very little compared to what we have. We have a country that is respected. Our country 2 years ago, if Biden came here, I don't even think he would get a meeting with President Xi. I don't think they'd even meet with him.
I don't know if he'd be able to focus long enough in the meeting.
You know what? He wouldn't come here. But assuming he came, I don't know that he'd even have a meeting. It's amazing. Actually, a lot of people, I noticed even with the business leaders, they're the biggest businessmen in the world, and women, a couple of women. And most of them, almost all of them, but most of them never met President Xi. This was the first time they've met him. So they found it exciting. They all performed very well. They all spoke. And I said, it's a little different position for them because they're hot stuff back in our country. But here they are, they're standing in front of this massive country, the leadership. But they really performed well, I thought.
You have in the past described President Xi to me as very tough, all business.
Yeah.
You're not describing the type of business that he normally used to do. Do you think that your relationship has evolved to the point where, he can go along with your spontaneity?
I think he's a warm person, actually, but he's all business. He's there's no games, there's no talking about how nice the weather is. Oh, let's look at the stars, let's look at the sun. No, he's all business, and I like that. I mean, that's a good thing. No games. I say it about him, and I could say it about some, not as complimentary, frankly, for the most part. But I say about him that if you went to Hollywood and you looked for a leader of China to play a role in a movie,
central casting.
He's central casting. You couldn't find a guy like him. Even his physical features. He's tall, very tall, and especially for this country because they tend to be a little bit shorter. You look at the military. I mean, the military today was incredible. That military marching was incredible. But no, if you went to Hollywood, you're not going to find a guy to play the role. He's good. And he's I'll get criticized. They always criticize me when I say good things about certain leaders, and this one. But he's a leader for China. He's led almost 1.5 billion people for a long time, and he's respected. It's sort of interesting when the fake news said, he said, they'll say, President Trump said that President Xi was a brilliant leader. That's a terrible thing. What am I going to do? But it's, you saw the response. You saw here's the thing. Those business people are here to make deals and to bring back jobs. They're bringing back massive numbers. China's going to invest hundreds of billions of dollars with those people that were in that room today. That's why they came. It was really an honor. We had just about every major business leader in there.
Yeah, I mean, the list was impressive. There's no doubt about it. So maybe to give people some insight into how you act in these situations, you're representing our country, you're the president of our country, and we get to watch you on a regular basis, something that the media did not get a lot of access to when Joe Biden was president. But we watch you.
We never did it.
Well,
and when he did do it, it was a disaster. Okay, so almost 100% of the time, it was a disaster.
Pretty much.
It was a terrible thing for our country. You can't be represented like that. Our country was laughed at. 2 years ago, our country was laughed at. We felt like a stupid country. We were scorned. We were mocked. We were taken advantage of in trade and every other way. I mean, look at what happened with Afghanistan. We left all that, billions of dollars of equipment behind. Could have taken it. It was just unbelievable. There's no reason to do that. Just all of a sudden and leave it. No, we were a country with the highest inflation in history. When they talk about high prices, I inherited the high prices. I'm getting them down. I've got them down incredibly. In fact, if I didn't make the little excursion to the country of Iran, I had to do it. We just hit the highest stock market ever, which, by the way, now we're now higher than we were before the war started. And oil went up very little compared to what most people, even including me, I thought it would go up more. But that was okay for a short period of time because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. They're crazy.
I'm going to get to that.
You can't let them have a nuclear weapon. They would use it. There'd be no Israel. There'd be no Middle East. There'd be no Europe, and they come at us too, because you know why? They're crazy.
I'm going to get back to Iran. Let me go to the media and Donald Trump and then the person and give people insight into the guy that sits in the room across from the leader of China, 1.5 billion people. We watch you almost daily with the media, and I think you enjoy it. You bring them in, they have gaggles, you keep them there for a long period of time. Probably.
It's not that I enjoy it.
You don't enjoy it?
No.
You seem like you do.
Well, every question's a kill. They're always going for the kill. Every question, you see these people with a hatred. I said, you have such hatred when you ask the question. Why? Because they have a strong border? Because they have a good military? Why do you have such hatred? The whole thing is crazy. It's not that I enjoy it. It's that I can get the word out, because I don't get the word out. I mean, look, Fox is great, and we have some that are good, but overall, if you read the New York Times, you actually think we're losing or not doing well in Iran. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force. It's gone. It's just a question of time. If we want, we stopped. Could have gone for another few weeks. It would have been over. I did that at the request of a lot of leaders that are friendly with them. It's not going to matter for them. They're finished. Now they can make a deal, or they get annihilated. I don't want to do that. Yeah. But we have the greatest military. And, when you do news conferences, you're getting the word out that you're not going to read in the New York Times. I mean, I read these things. I see some of your other networks, the way they cover, they will take a massive military victory and make it like we should have done it faster. The one thing they couldn't complain about was Venezuela, because it was over in one day. Mm-hmm. So we're comparing it to.
So here's my question.
As an example, Vietnam lasted for 19 years, right? It did. I think Iraq was 10 years. Thousands and thousands of people killed. There, many, many thousands in Vietnam. And we've lost in 2 wars, we've lost 13 people. 13. That's 13 people too many, but we've lost 13 as opposed to 75,000, as opposed to 50,000, as opposed to numbers that are staggering. Think of it. We're 19 years in Vietnam. Every war, we're 4 years, 8 years, 9 years. Iraq was 10 years. We're on all these wars. I've never, like a couple of months, and the Navy's gone. They have 159 ships. Every single one of them is now happily floating or not floating at the bottom of the sea. No, every one. They have no Air Force. They had a nice Air Force. They don't anymore. They have no Air Force. They have no anti-aircraft. Now, they probably have. I mean, we know everything they've done. They built it up a little bit. We'll take it out in one day. It'll all be gone. I hope they're watching, because all of their anti-stuff, anything they put up, we know exactly what they put up. They had a little respite. And so they're trying to get a few things together. They have taken some missiles from underground. We know exactly what they're doing. It'll all be gone in one day. Everything they've done for the last 4 weeks will be gone in one day. But when you read some of these horrible papers, if you watch CNN as an example, or that other one, they used to go to MSDNC, now it's MS Now. And they got rid of it because it was such an embarrassment. It gets no ratings. CNN has just been destroyed.
You were pretty funny the other day. You were in the Oval Office and you go, I think whatever I want to do, I'm going to say the opposite. Then I'll get what I want.
It took me a while,
But by the way, there's probably some.
No, I'm going to announce what I don't want. I'll be able to get it. They'll immediately, I'll say, we will not build a wall. We will not because I built over 1,000 miles of wall. People don't even talk about it. We have the safest southern border in the history of our country. We have the safest border in the world, other than North Korea. I tell you, North Korea has a pretty safe border too. They've got 5 fences that are fully electrocuted.
You were at that border.
I saw it. There's never been anyone. There was one person that got through, but he ended up dying about 10 feet as he got through.
All right, we'll have more with President Trump on the other side as we continue tonight from Beijing, China.
Okay, we're going
The Red, White, and New trade event is going on now at Camping World. It's the biggest RV trade event of the year and the best time to buy a new RV. Get the highest value for
Man, oh man, American commercials, guys. These American commercials. You know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to troll you guys. I'm going to troll you guys with Canadian commercials. Let me go to YouTube. Let me bring up the yeah. Let me find something I haven't played before. Yeah, I should keep these All right, here we go. I have no idea wait, I don't know what this is. Let me find something that's longer. Okay, here we go. All right, guys, we're going to watch Canadian commercials while we're waiting for Fox News to come back.
Fruit Roll-Ups Factory.
Morning, Sean.
Yeah,
Morning, Steve. Have you seen Sean? He looks funny. How so, Steve? The faces, they're all stretched out! Huh? I've got it!
Fun and Games Fruit Roll-Ups now come in stretchy faces. The more you stretch them, the funnier the faces get. What fun Fruit Roll-Ups will we roll out with next?
You could instantly win a cool trip to meet a hot music superstar, Christina Aguilera, Vibe, or LFO. See specially marked boxes of Fruit Roll-Ups for details.
Then I wake up in the morning, I'm still asleep. I really don't want no toast. I want no OJ, no tea, and no cereal. It be a yogurt drink I'm wanting first. Oh, give me up, me mama smooth up. Me mama give me up, me mama when the morning come. Give me up, me mama, yup, me mama, yup for when the morning come.
And you gotta make room for the boo-boo. We're doing it, everybody knows everybody. Dynamite.
Their taste in music, questionable. Their taste in drinks, impeccable. Because Sunny D is a good source of vitamin C and B1. And has a taste they can't get enough of. Which is the one thing that makes everyone.
No, Canadian commercials are not as weird as American commercials.
With a new look.
I'm just saying.
Kool-Aid Jammy with vitamins.
Yeah, the Kool-Aid guy.
Now a new blue raspberry.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'm throwing dice in the alley. Officer Leroy comes up and he's like, "Hey, I thought I told you." And I'm like, "Yeah, what up?" Then up comes Zaffo. I'm like, "Yo, Zaffo, what's up?" He's like, "I'm like, that's
I don't remember this commercial. I don't remember this commercial. Oh, it's like a video game.
We're feeling this great music for the holidays. Blink 182. Puddle of Mud. Life.
Oh my gosh, guys, this is like when I was like a teenager.
Display.
Yeah, Rob Zombie. I like Rob Zombie. Oh, Limp Bizkit. I don't know this guy. Who's Huxley Workman? I don't know that. Wait.
Must-see interview Friday on Special Report.
Ooh.
As history's preeminent
There's
expert
another
on
interview
emergency
tomorrow.
communication, I
Oh no,
fully
we're back to
endorse
the
rapid
weird.
radio.
We're back to the weird like cell phone commercial. Okay, let's go back to Canada.
They changed the McNuggets, you know.
Why change McNuggets?
Who changed the McNuggets? I love McNuggets. McNuggets don't need to be changed. If you're gonna change something, change broccoli. Change is good.
McDonald's new chicken McNuggets are now made with
Christians, like, if you think Canada bad, try Norwegian commercials. I know exactly which commercial you're speaking about. Was that a Norwegian commercial or was that a Swedish commercial where it's like this song comes up and the song is really raunchy and then everyone starts like, it's like the parents and the two kids in the back of the car and they're all jamming to it because they don't know what the lyrics of the song are. And I'm not going to say the lyrics, but the music is like na 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 na. Yeah, I've seen some raunchy European commercials from, I think it's from that area. And then at the end of it, the commercial, it's like, you should learn English. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen some of those. Got Japanese commercials. There's like a few Japanese commercials that you're just like, oh. Okay, wait, we're back to Sean Hannity.
My interview with President Trump for the full hour. Now, of course, this was right after his all-important meeting with President Xi as we continue our interview. Let me go to the issue of trade, tariffs, intellectual property theft. I'm sure, especially with all those big business people you brought in, those are big. Any progress you can report?
Yeah, I mean, it is progress, but I also tell people that, I was in an interview with a very bad, stupid reporter. She works for CBS. You saw that 60 Minutes. Stupid person, just an average person. You could take anybody off the street and it'd be as good as she is, just very average. And she asked me a question.
Yeah.
She's talked about China and this and that they steal this and they steal that. And I said, yeah, we do it to them too. They spy on us. I said, we spy on them too, I guess, So some people thought that was cute. Other people said, you don't have to say that. I said, I sort of do. No, we do things and they do things, and that's the way it is. Now, with that being said, I spoke to him very strongly about that, and I'd like to see it taken care of. But they've been doing that for 50 years.
Will we see a change? In other words, will there be an improvement with trade?
Fentanyl is way down coming into the country for two reasons. The border's strong, but it's also down because they're sending less. We taxed them. I gave them a 20% tariff, and because of fentanyl, it was like a penalty. Nobody ever did that. You didn't know that probably. I gave them a 20% tariff because they're sending fentanyl. It's a huge amount of money. I actually said, the tariff is costing you $200 billion, and you make $200 billion, much less, a small percentage from the sale. I think from the sale of the fentanyl. And so fentanyl is used for a lot of different reasons, but the bad reason probably outweighs the good. That fentanyl is used for a lot of, you go into fentanyl, it's used for a lot of different things, including operations, et cetera, et cetera. But it's been a disaster. But as you know, I put on a charge of 20%, a tariff of 20%. Nobody else would do that. And we do well with China, and I think we'll both do well. These people really what I'd like to see, China doesn't open the country. It's massive. It would be unbelievable for our companies if they opened it, and I think it would be good for China too.
Any indication they will open?
Well, they're going to open some of it. Yeah, they open it in stages. I'd like to just see them open it. But they guard their country, and he cherishes his country. He wants to take. He wants China to be.
What does he want from you? What does he want?
Is the greatest phrase of all time.
What does he want from us?
They have a similar.
What does he want from the U.S.?
A lot of things. We talked about a lot of things. Too many things to discuss, but a lot of things. We had a very good meeting, but we want things from them. One thing he agreed to today is going to order 200 jets. That's a big thing. Boeing. 200 big ones. That's a lot of jobs. It's a lot. Boeing wanted 150. He got 200. He said, I think it was a commitment. I mean, sort of like a statement, but I think it was a commitment. It's a great thing. It's a lot of jobs. Boeing's doing a good job. They're catching up. The requests were a lot, and our requests were a lot. We requested for a lot. We have Visa, which is not allowed to trade, and they were there. It was a big company, and other companies are allowed to trade. And I said, what about letting Visa? We had the head of Visa there today, by the way. Visa's a big deal. I said, what about using Visa in China? For some reason, they were blackballed. And maybe that'll come off. So we had a lot of, we were in there for a few hours, right? Long time.
Do you think you made progress? Did you feel like that the give and take, for example, you're not going to sign this big agreement after hours meeting, but do you feel the foundation was laid for great success?
Better than last time. Last time we signed like 36 deals. This time it's much bigger than that. Talked about soybeans for our farmers. They're going to do a lot of soybeans for our farmers. They're going to be buying a lot of our farm product, which is great. They have an unlimited appetite, as the expression goes. They can buy as much as when you have that many people, they need it. And we have the best product. We're the best, sort of the best of everything. And they'll be doing that. Very farmer to me is very, I must have gotten 95% of the farm vote. And by the way, we just signed the farm bill, or we just approved the farm bill in Congress, which a lot of people thought was not going to happen. You know, the Democrats are against farmers. You believe it? I say, how can they be against? Add that to the men and women's sports center. The Democrats are against farmers. Can you believe it? So anyway, they're defective. I came up with a new name. I don't know if I should.
I know which one it is.
Democrats. Because they're dumb. They're dumb. It's D-U-M. I got rid of the B. So you're only changing one letter, right? E goes and the U comes. It's a Democrat.
You know, you take up more space in people's heads than any one person on the face of this earth, right? You live rent-free.
I was talking about a guy, Hakeem Jeffries. He's a very low IQ individual. And I talked about him. I said, he's a dumb guy. He's a Democrat. And I said, oh, what a great name that is. So anyway.
Let me ask you this. The issue, and you've been asked about it, and you've spoken about it, and that is China's support of Iran. How big a discussion was that today?
We discussed it. I mean, when you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, you know, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that. He'd like to see Hormuz Strait opened. I said, well, we didn't stop it. They did it, and then we stopped them. You know, sort of interesting. He joked. He said, you know, it's sort of if they stopped it, then you stopped them. But they'd like to see it opened. But they actually closed it. He didn't like the fact that they're charging tolls. I don't know if they are or not. I don't know who would pay them. I mean, where do they put the money? The country's decimated. You know, they're charging tolls. Where's the money going?
So do you think President Xi and China have the ability to influence the Iranians, considering they are one of their biggest
probably,
customers?
But look, he's not coming in with guns. He's not coming in with rifles. They're not coming in shooting. You know, somebody said he's been very good. They get a lot of their oil, 40% of their oil from that location. So what has happened, and one thing I think that we're going to make a deal on, they've agreed they want to buy oil from the United States. They're going to go to Texas. We're going to start sending Chinese ships to Texas and to Louisiana and to Alaska. And I think that was another thing that was agreed to. That's a big thing.
What about liquefied natural gas?
It's not that much longer.
Gas too?
Yeah, everything. Energy.
Energy.
That's the one thing. They really need energy. That's the one thing. They have an insatiable appetite for energy, and we have unlimited energy. You know, we've now under me, but we now produce more than if you combine Saudi Arabia and before the war, if you took Saudi Arabia, Russia, put them together, we're doing twice as much oil and gas as they are. Think of that. It's amazing.
Venezuela is one. We're two.
Called drill, baby, drill, right?
Oh, well, I mean, when you really think about it, if they have a problem with Iran, and they need the strait more than we need it open,
we don't need it at all.
We don't need it at all.
We don't need it at all.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, you could make the case, you know, like, why are we even? We're doing it to help Israel and to help Saudi Arabia and to help Qatar and UAE and, you know, Kuwait and other countries, Bahrain.
It also helps China.
And we're actually, I told them today, I said, you know, we're helping you. And we're helping you in another way because I don't think China wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon either. I said, they're stone cold crazy. You don't need them having a nuclear weapon either.
What did he say? What did he say?
Well, he's not going to respond too much. He's a pretty cool guy. He's not going to say, "Oh, gee, that's a good point."
I think he might.
What's he going to do?
Oh,
say,
I mean,
what a wonderful point.
You think he agreed?
Yeah, I think
that was the impression.
I don't think he wants them to have. No, he would like to see it end. But he's been good about it, you know. Hasn't done anything hostile.
They get discounted oil from Iran. Here's a thought, because if you're going to expand trade, and it's going to include benefits for our farmers, and it's going to include manufacturing, and all those, you know, top CEOs and executives that you brought into that meeting that they didn't expect, I would imagine that there probably is a deal to be had on the energy front, which would be great for our country.
So I told him I'd love to see you buy oil from Texas and Louisiana, from the United States, Alaska. We've got so much of it. And he said he likes the idea. He'd like to talk about that. I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I don't know.
I think that would be a huge announcement.
Look, they're doing it right now. They're sending Chinese ships up to buy oil.
They do.
So we're doing, you know, and I don't like talking about it because then the fake news media says, oh, Trump doesn't talk about the fact that somebody's paying 2.5 from, I had it down to $1.85 in Iowa a gallon. So now it's $4 and it's going to not be long. And as soon as the war ends, it's going to go down to lower than it was before. It's going to be very quick. And, when I explain it to people, all you have to do is say, do you think Iran, they're crazy, should have a nuclear weapon? Everybody says no. I said, well, then you think I'm doing the right thing. And I have no choice. The sad thing is that we had just broken every record on the stock market, as you know. I thought the market would go down 20, 25 points. It didn't. It's higher now than it was before we started.
All right. If you want,
well, what? But isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. And, I know people around you told you oil prices would go up. Okay. I had a conversation with you and I asked you if I could bring this up. And I said, Mr. President, if you wanted to knock out Iran's economy, you could probably do it in under an hour. And you said to me, no, probably in 5 minutes.
Yeah, very little time.
That's what you said to me. And then I asked you.
Well, we hit Carg Island, everything but the oil. We left that one little thing. I say, stay 50 yards away. And I said to General Raisin Kane, I said, General, how long will it take? He said, 4 or 5 minutes. I said, no, seriously, how long? I figured he'd say a day or 2 days, a week. He said, no, only 4 or 5 minutes. They wiped out the whole island, except they left the nozzle. That's where the oil comes out, just in case.
You know what? That would end this conflict. That would end this war.
Well, it would, but then
you said to me.
Then you'd lose a lot of oil. And I don't know. Look, right now, there's no oil coming out of Carg Island. None. Zero.
They're going to cap those wells.
People are finding other places to buy oil, like Texas. So I don't want to say we're making a fortune. You understand that? Because if I say, they're going to say, oh, he forgets about the little man, with the $4 gasoline.
You said, the reason I said, you said to me, this would wipe out their economy for over a decade. It's a population of over 90 million people that have been oppressed for 47 plus years.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't want to do that if you didn't have to.
So if I don't have to, I don't. Oh, that's the easiest shot of all. That would be done in 1 minute. The island took 4 minutes. The only thing I said, leave 50 yards around. They wiped out everything. I mean, it's wiped out. It would take one plane, 1 minute. That's all it would take. When you do that, you start off, that's a big statement to do that. Now, you also have bridges. You also have electric plants, which I think in many ways are worse because you can get the oil open faster than you can build a new bridge or build a new electric plant. But these guys should make a deal. I mean,
the regime doesn't
only
care,
crazy people would not make a deal.
Yeah, but they're
crazy.
crazy.
Make a deal. And President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer. He said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because
he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help. If I could be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I could be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
What has complicated things probably the most is the top 3-tier leadership is wiped out.
It's gone.
Now you have a fractured leadership.
Yeah, but I think we have people that are leaders. I think they're much better than, I think they're much more reasonable. If you talk about regime change, that's the ultimate. No, I said, that is serious regime change, right? The third tier that we're dealing with now, I think they're actually much more reasonable and in many ways smarter than the first tier and the second tier who are no longer with us.
And why do they go forwards and backwards?
They make a deal and the next day, like we waited 5 days for a letter that should have been there 1 hour. I said, where's the letter? They're having a lot of turmoil. They got nothing but turmoil inside. And it's an amazing phenomenon. Nobody wants to be the president. It's like they say, who wants to be president of Iran? Anybody want to be president? Everyone says, I don't want to be president.
But I've known you long enough to know you don't have infinite patience. You have patience. You're being patient.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to be much more patient. No, I'm not. They should make a deal. Any sane person would make a deal.
Yeah, but they're not. They're not.
But they might be crazy.
All right, more Hannity with President Trump on the other side as we continue.
Okay, oh my gosh, guys, President Trump is laying the groundwork for preparing the American nation for the fact that the Islamic regime is literally insane and they do not want to make a deal. He just said, he's confirming that. He just confirmed that. He's like, any sane person would want to make a deal. These people are lunatics. And then he's been constantly saying, like, you know, maybe the moderates can make a deal. But he just said, well, maybe not. Maybe not. Oh my guys. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back and whoa. Guys, President Trump pretty much just confirmed. Like President Trump is essentially, like, you have to read between the lines. President Trump is saying that he can't make a deal with the Islamic regime because they're all insane and they're all lunatics, because any sane person would want to make a deal in order to survive. The regime is not sane. They're insane, right? This is completely in line with what Marco Rubio said yesterday on the plane when he said that the differences between the United States and the Islamic regime are irreconcilable, right? Let me pull that up here. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this.
And there are times when some of those issues of conflict are irreconcilable. I think Iran is an example of that. The clerical regime wants to have a nuclear weapon, and the world, led by President Trump, says that's completely impossible, cannot happen. So unfortunately, there's some areas like that where it comes up. But there are areas where if we can find areas of commonality, that's very powerful and important. But we will have to manage these bilateral differences because they're very significant. And when it's two big, powerful countries, you know, that falling apart could have.
So Rubio is talking about the relationship between China and the United States, and he's saying that, you know, there could be possibly, like, you know, some positive relationship between China and the United States. But then he compares that with the Islamic regime, and he's like, the relationship is irreconcilable when it comes to the Islamic regime and United States.
And there are times when some of those issues of conflict are irreconcilable. I think Iran is an example of that. The clerical regime wants to have a nuclear weapon, and the world, led by President Trump, says that's completely impossible, cannot happen. So unfortunately, there's some areas like that where it comes up. But there are areas where if we can find areas of commonality, that's very powerful and important. But we will have to manage these bilateral differences because they're very significant. And when it's two big, powerful countries, you know, that falling apart could have tremendous significance on the global economy and on global peace. And there are times when some of those issues of conflict.
There you go. So guys, literally right there, okay? Right there. This is what Marco Rubio said yesterday. And now, today in this interview, President Trump is laying the foundation that the Islamic regime is a bunch of lunatics and you can't trust them for anything. Wait, where's Fox News? Oh, there it is. Okay. Just want to make sure I have it. And now President Trump is pretty much confirming that like you just cannot reconcile with the regime, right?
New Patriot Power Generator.
I don't know what that is. What's a Patriot Power Generator? Oh my God, you Americans are so weird. What is it with your Americans and your weird commercials? Patriot Power Generator. It's okay. It's okay. Canadian commercials are just as weird, so it's all good. All right. So, but yeah, so there you go. So this is essentially President Trump confirming, right? So whenever I say that there are certain people that President Trump speaks through, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Maria Bartiromo, right? Marco Rubio yesterday said the differences between the Islamic regime and the United States is irreconcilable. And now President Trump just confirmed that. To the person on Twitch who's asking if this is a live stream, no, this is not live. This is a recording. This live stream was actually broadcast yesterday. So you're better off going to a different channel.
Continue more with President Trump.
And no, I'm not hating on
right
American
after his
made
all-important
products.
meeting with President
I'm going
Xi
to ban you from my
as we continue from Beijing, China. If you were to take some headlines out of this summit, America, I'm sure, watched the reception, and I'll do a side-by-side of the reception of then President Obama.
He doesn't respect Obama. Nobody does. Highly overrated, and he's a divider. Biden will go down as the worst president in history because I think what he did on the border.
And how do you explain your relationship with President Xi? Because it seems as cordial as it can be. He doesn't seem like the warmest guy in the world on the outside.
He is. He's warm. I mean, look, he's smart. He's a very smart person, but we have a good relationship. No, he has to respect somebody. He's no games. He's not like, let's talk about how did the Yankees do last night? Okay, who cares? They don't care. He's all about China. It's
but their
it's a consummate thing.
Their economy's hurting.
I don't know. I've been hearing that about them for 40 years, that their economy is hurting. I've been hearing about it. I'm always hearing about it. Look, we want to open it up. It's massive. And we want to get all of those companies and many more in there and make a lot of money and a lot of jobs for America. That's all. It's very simple. And I've done it better than anybody else. Our deficit's way down from what it used to be, way down with China. And this could end any deficit with China. China's been very good. China treated our presidents with great disrespect. Like we have a lot of presidents, and I was a Reagan fan and am. I liked him. I thought he was great style and everything, but he was not good on trade. We lost the car industry to Japan and Germany and others. People have liabilities and whatever, but we had some presidents that were really, really bad. They allowed our country to be just absolutely decimated. And when you look at what happened with Biden, when you look at what happened, the way everybody treated him, there was zero respect. Obama, too. The Iran nuclear deal, it was the worst deal, one of the worst deals ever made. If I didn't go in and terminate that deal, Iran would have a nuclear weapon, and they would have used it. We wouldn't even maybe sitting here right now.
Can I ask you this, though?
But John, they would have used it. The Iran nuclear
I agree with you.
Then if I didn't go in with the B-2 bombers 9 months ago, they would have had a nuclear weapon. And by the way, the one thing they told me, because I deal with the Iranian leaders now a little bit, they said very strongly, because they said, we're getting the nuclear dust. That was a term I made up because it's sort of, it's a simpler term for people to understand. It's nuclear dust, sort of dusty. But I said, we get the nuclear dust. They said, you will get it. They agreed to it, right? They agreed to it. But then they take it back, then they agree, it's back and forth. I don't know. I think they have a lot of problems with the leadership. But Sean, they said, we get the nuclear dust. They said, there's only 2 countries that can get it. Who? You and China. Nobody else has the technology. I said, why do you say? He said, because when you hit that thing, the whole mountain collapsed on it. I said, so you're saying we really hit it good, didn't we? He said, there's no way that any normal country can. The only 2 countries that can go down and get that are you and China. It's very interesting because CNN was saying, well, maybe it wasn't hit that badly. It was hit. And what they did is they took a lot of credit away from those great B-2, pilots and the Tomahawk submarines. And, we had the submarine shooting Tomahawks in there, 30 Tomahawks. We obliterated it. And before the pilots even go back, I remember CNN saying, well, maybe it wasn't hit that badly. Maybe it wasn't. They didn't even know anything, and they were saying that. The top person said to me, there's 2 countries that can get that. We can't get it even if we wanted to because we don't have the technology or the equipment. They said us and China. It's very interesting.
60% enriched uranium to be weapons grade, 90% enriched in under 12 days.
Yeah.
And they were bragging to your Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff.
If I didn't go in with the B-2 bombers that week, that day, that week, they would right now have a nuclear bomb.
So it was that imminent?
Well, I thought so.
The intelligence told you
I
so?
thought that they were very close to having a nuclear weapon, and it all emanated from those 3 sites that we hit, and we hit them good. We hit them good. And when he told me that, and he wasn't saying that as a negotiation, he just said, we can't get it, we'll never be able to get it. They're not, you got to move like the weight of a mountain. And it was a granite mountain. Those bombs went right down air chutes. I guarantee they'll never build an air chute again.
This is the bunker.
Think of it, at 1 o'clock in the morning with no moon, we dropped bombs. Every one of those bombs went down an air chute and exploded. And the whole mountain collapsed on top of that site. And the Iranian leaders told me that they would be, and everybody else, other than, literally, he said us in China. And I don't know that China can do it. I know we can do it, but it's a big project. To get it, it's a big project.
Do you feel there's been people that have, and generals that I've spoken to, that think you have to get the dust, which is the enriched uranium, or have you been told there may be a way to entomb it that they could never get to it?
So we were thinking about doing it early on, and
about getting it.
It would take a while. It would take a week and a half. That's a long time to be in enemy territory. No, you got to move these massive amounts of granite. It's a granite. Granite's the hardest stone. It's amazing that it's those were really powerful bombs that we used. And don't forget, we hit it on top of that. We hit Tomahawks on top of that. No, I don't think it's necessary, except from a public relations standpoint. I think it's important for the fake news that we get it. I'm the one that said we're going to get it, and we're going to get it. We have our eye on it. So Space Force was my creation. I did that in my first term. It's going to end up going down as one of the most important of all of our military.
So it can be entombed.
Yeah, it can be.
With eyes on it.
It can be, but I'd rather get it, to be honest with you. It can be, a lot of things can happen, and even despite the statement that, they can't get it, they are, first of all, if we left right now, it would take Iran 25 years to rebuild, and it can never be like it was. It would take 25 years. I would rather get it, but we have our eyes on it. We know exactly what's happening there. We had the other day, there was a man that tried to get into the chute. We saw there was a door that was blown to smithereens, and we know everything that's happening. If they ever moved on, and I told them that, if they send a force over there to try, where I see somebody's trying, all we'll do is just hit it with a couple of bombs, and that's going to be the end of that. They won't do it. I said, we have 9 cameras on that site, on those 3 sites, 24 hours a day. We know exactly what's happening. Nobody's even gotten close to it. They looked at it at the beginning, and they said, there's no way that anybody can ever get down to the nuclear dust.
You think it's...
But I'd still rather have it. I'd rather get it. I just feel better if I got it, actually. But I think it's more for public relations than it is for anything else. The other thing we could do is bomb it again, just make it absolute. But I would feel better getting it. So, and we will get it.
Let me go back to a question that has come up before for you, and I want to get into more detail because we are in Beijing. The issue of Chinese students in our universities. More importantly, in my mind, is that Chinese nationals have been buying up thousands and thousands of acres of farmland, ranch land, and land near military installations. Now, I would assume I'm in Beijing. If I wanted to buy property near one of their military installations, I don't think President Xi...
No, they wouldn't let you. I don't... Look, it's not that I love it. You want to see farm prices drop? You want to see farmers lose a lot of money? Just take that out of the market. But they've had a lot of land for a long time. Obama did nothing about it. They bought a lot of it during the Obama administration. He did nothing about it. As far as the students, it's 500,000 students. They come, good students. I could tell them, I don't want any students, is a very insulting thing to say to a country. They would then immediately go out and start building universities all over China. But if you don't have those students, good students, by the way, if you don't, and we do another thing, if they're good and they want to stay in America, we won't give them a green card and things like that. And that not only them, but other countries. But if you want to see a university system die, take 500,000 people out of it. And the ones that won't be hurt are the top schools. The top schools will do fine, but your lower schools, the ones that don't do quite as well, they'll be dying all over the place. I frankly think that it's good that people come from other countries and they learn our culture, and many of them want to stay here. I think it's good. Not everybody agrees with me, and it doesn't sound like a very conservative position. And I'm a conservative guy. I'm really a common sense guy, I think, more than a conservative guy. I think MAGA is common sense. People understand we want strong borders, we want strong military, we want good education, we want low interest rates, we want. But
I think people would argue they worry about, do they have nefarious intentions?
I know, and we worry about that. And honestly, they do things to us and we do things to them. It's a very, very fine line, the whole thing with students. So they have 500,000 students, and our university system does great. It does great. You want to screw it up, take 500,000 students out. And you're gonna see bankruptcies at the lower end of good colleges, but they're not known or whatever. You're gonna have a lot of problems. So it's something I'm always looking at. But it's a very insulting thing to tell a country, we don't want your people in our schools. I mean, it really is. Now, I'll have people say, oh, that's a terrible thing. It is a very insulting thing. And it's very interesting. It's something didn't come up today, came up last time. But I will tell you that school systems don't want that to happen, because you won't have much of a school system.
All right, Mr. President, when they look through the history books, this summit, what will people be saying 10 years from now?
Well, I think it's a very historic summit. It's the two great countries. I call it the G2. This is the G2. They have G7, they had the G8. This is the G2. And I think it'll go down as a very important moment in history. And maybe more than anything else, a great moment of respect.
Mr. President, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great to see you. All right, we'll continue our coverage. More Hannity on the other side as we continue broadcasting from Beijing, China.
You love your land, and you...
Okay, what did you guys think of that? That's very interesting to me. President Trump is framing China as a potential partner, but he's framing the Islamic regime as a lunatic that needs to be eradicated. So I have a feeling that perhaps this trip to, well, not perhaps, but I think that this trip to China was essentially a way for President Trump to just speak face to face with Xi Jinping and essentially tell him that we're going to get rid of the Islamic regime. You're going to have to deal with that. And these are the economic options available to you in the future. So I think that's what this meeting is really about. I mean, there's a number of other issues, but I think the heart of the matter is the Islamic regime. And what confirms my suspicion is that in this interview, Sean Hannity asked about Iran and the Islamic regime, but didn't really ask about Taiwan or Hong Kong or anything like that, right? Because that's not at play, right? So the US policy when it comes to Taiwan is not at play. However, President Trump is looking to shift the geopolitical order when it comes to Iran and the Islamic regime that's occupying Iran. And I have a feeling President Trump went to China to just lay it straight. Lay it straight. So that's the sense that I get from what's happening here. Okay. I think Sean Hannity's continuing. So if that's the case, let me just go to a few super chats. These commercials are weird. I don't like these commercials. You know what? Let me just come here instead. I'll just share this while I wait for the commercials to end. And I'll go to a few of the super chats that I haven't yet read. So, okay, no, I think I read this one. Yeah, Christian says, if you think Canada bad, try Norwegian commercials. I bet. Cranberry Langers won to help with the fight. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Not a super chat, but we have a new viewer, Humpty Dumpty from Scotland. Hello, Goldie. New to your channel. Great work watching from Scotland. Wow, welcome. I love a good Scotch, not gonna lie. Guys, for those of you watching, let me know where you're from. Let me know in the chat. Let's see where everyone is watching from tonight. Let's see how international the Goldie Show really is. So yeah, just let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Would love to know. Dominic Spencer, Goldie, you are an indispensable. Goldie, you are indispensable information and amazing. We love you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Apollyon, new member. Welcome to Goldie's gang. Agent Anderson, every CCP student has perfect SAT score. Many can't hardly put a sentence together in English. Yeah, that's a thing. That is certainly a thing. All right, let me go to where. Okay, so where's everyone from here? Scotland, okay, so USA, Canada, Ohio. Oh, Iranian from Denmark. Love that. Taiwan. There we go. See, so we got some Taiwan people here. Guys, see? I have a feeling President Trump's policy on Taiwan has not shifted because Taiwan is very, very important. Marco Rubio has been an outspoken advocate of Taiwan. So I have a feeling that you guys don't have to be worried too much. I think you're always going to have an ally in the United States. Israel, Texas. You know what, guys? This is such an American thing. I'm like, which country are you from? And then the Americans are like, I will put my state down. So Ohio, Texas. I love it though. No, I think it's fantastic. I love that whole like American vibe where you guys are so proud of your states. It makes sense though, because America is like the United States. It's such a huge country. Every state is pretty much like a country in and of itself. All right, Sean Hannity's back.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for making this show possible. Please set your DVR so you never, ever miss an episode of Hannity. And don't forget our new podcast. Simple. All you have to do is type in Hang Out with Sean Hannity, wherever you get your video podcast. We just dropped one with Laura and Eric Trump together.
He's just giving like an advertisement. Okay, Atlanta, North Texas. Yeah, hey, Canada, BC. Ooh, Stockholm, proudly Iranian, Australia, Georgia, USA, South Carolina. I love it.
10 p.m. on the East Coast, 7 o'clock here in Los Angeles, and 10 a.m. Friday morning in Beijing. And this is a special edition of America's Late News, Fox News at Night.
Vegas.
And breaking tonight, President Trump optimistic that he can strike major deals with President Xi. And the two leaders are just moments away from another key meeting, and we'll bring that to you live.
I told him I'd love to see you buy oil from Texas and Louisiana, from the United States, Alaska. We've got so much of it. And he said, he likes the idea. He'd like to talk about that.
The president says China won't send military weapons and equipment to
Planet Earth.
Iran, but tension is still high as President Xi draws a red line on Taiwan.
U.S. policy on the issue of Taiwan is unchanged as of today and as of the meeting that we had here today. It was raised. They always raise it on their side. We always make clear our position, and we move on to the other topics.
We have Team Fox coverage. Mike Emanuel is live in D.C. with what the president told Sean Hannity about his summit with President Xi. But we begin with the senior White House correspondent, Peter Doocy. He's live for us in Beijing. Peter.
Trace, we're only going to be on the ground here in China with President Trump for a few more hours. So it is time to start tying up some loose ends. First, President Trump has to figure out what exactly Xi is willing to do when he says that he wants to help end the Iran war. We also have to figure out which CEOs, American CEOs that are part of the traveling party, besides Boeing, are going to leave here with new commitments from the Chinese for business here. Xi says that he's going to open up the country a little bit more. So what exactly does that mean? We hope to find out.
Bluto, okay.
Polishing up our reputation back home. This is what's on the president's mind right now. He posted 2 years ago we were, in fact, a nation in decline. On that, I fully agree with President Xi. But now the United States is the hottest nation anywhere in the world, and hopefully our relationship with China will be stronger and better than before. So Xi, apparently, according to Chinese state media, told these CEOs he is willing to open China up for them. That will be a win for the president. He also apparently told the U.S. to stay out of his way with Taiwan. That makes things a little tricky. The quote from the Chinese side is, President Xi stressed that the Taiwan question is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. If it is handled properly, the bilateral relationship will enjoy overall stability. Otherwise, the two countries will have clashes and even conflicts. Official U.S. policy towards control of Taiwan is known as strategic ambiguity. But the U.S. still doesn't want Beijing trying to take over this self-governing island.
From our perspective, any forced change in the status quo and the situation that's there now would be bad for both countries. One of the things the Chinese emphasize, which we agree, is strategic stability in our relationship, a constructive relationship, but also one that establishes strategic stability so that we don't have misunderstandings that could lead to broader conflict.
So Xi wants to talk about Taiwan. President Trump wants to talk about American companies getting business deals. These are the big things we expect them to work out at their next sit down, which will be a working lunch here in Beijing before President Trump jets off to the White House. Trace?
Peter Doocy live for us in Beijing. Peter, thank you. President Trump giving us some insight about his relationship with Xi Jinping during an exclusive interview with Sean Hannity. The chief Washington correspondent, Mike Emanuel, is live in D.C. with the highlights of the interview. Mike, good evening.
Trace, good evening. In that wide-ranging interview, President Trump making it clear he feels good about his connection with the Chinese president.
We have a relationship, he and I, and we've been working together a long time. We've gotten along
I'm from
well.
Ontario.
When I first came here, China was really taking advantage of the United States. He understands that. And now we do great with China, and we have a very good relationship.
As a longtime businessman, it is clear the president loves making deals. The president telling Sean Hannity he will be bringing home good news for American farmers, the energy sector, and China's order for 200 Boeing jets.
You know, last time we signed like 36 deals. This time it's much bigger than that. Talked about soybeans for our farmers. They're going to do a lot of soybeans for our farmers.
The president and Xi also talking about the war in Iran. That conflict now 75 days old, and the president says China's president offered his assistance.
I saw your comment.
He said, I would love to be a help. If I could be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I could be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
Of course, that assistance would likely come with a price. As you heard, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson describing Taiwan as, quote, the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. Trace?
Indeed. Mike Emanuel live for us in D.C. Mike, thank you. Let's bring in the panel. Former Homeland Security spokeswoman Katie Zachariah, the cyber guy Kirk Knudsen, board-certified MD Dr. Houman Hamadi, former Deputy National Security Advisor Steve Yates, retired Navy Captain Brent Sadler, and Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow, expert on China, Gordon Chang. Thank you all for coming on. Steve Yates.
Okay, honestly, I'm not too interested in the panel because my analysis is better than the panel anyway. And yeah, like I asked for countries. The guys, this is such an American thing. I'm like, which country are you from? The Americans are like, I'm from Texas. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. No, but I get it because there's a whole like state versus state thing in the United States. I totally get it. It's cool. It also kind of makes sense because the United States is so big that each state is pretty much like its own country. So it's all good. But then, guys, apparently it's not enough for you guys to just focus on your states. Some of you are like, I'm from Northern California. And I'm like, okay, so wait, now like there's rivalry between Northern California and Southern California? Like, what am I missing here, Americans? But I'm just from boring old Ontario. Anyways, all good, all good. I'm just teasing you guys. It's all love. It's all love. It's just, you know, a Canadian that's, you know, teasing you guys here. So Ontario, Kitchener, love that. Oh, Germany, Vancouver. Oh, Indonesia. Oh, Dearborn. Oh, good luck. Oh, Kentucky, Texas, Dallas area, Taiwan. Northern California is a different country than Southern California, perhaps. Missouri, New Jersey. Where else do we got? I'll be in Delaware tomorrow, Dover, upstate New York. Yeah, I know. Oh, believe me, I know. Indiana, Detroit, Michigan. Let's see. Someone's like, let's just rename USA to Texas. That's funny. Ontario. Yeah, Ontario. Go Ontario. Nebraska, Maryland, England, Australia, Blue Mountains. Ooh, there's a lot of Hawaiis. Oh, Brit. This comment wins tonight. This comment wins. Goldie, why not move to USA? We need you to be American. Guys, I'm Canadian. I can't just move to the USA and live there. Sorry, NICE would kick me out, right? So I can't just like move to the United States. It doesn't work that way. But yeah, like I think at this point, like my political beliefs and like my values are way more American than Canadian. But that's okay. It is what it is. All right, let me just go through. Okay, I think pretty much everyone answered. So, all right. So I'm not going to play this, but there are a number of interviews from earlier today that I actually did want to play. So this is the first one that we didn't actually get an opportunity to play, but I think this is really important. So, as much as I need to go to bed, I still want to watch some of these interviews from today that I literally haven't had the time to watch yet. So we're just literally going to like doom watch a bunch. Are you the only French national? No, you're not. There were a few other people who said that they're from France. And don't worry, je peux parler français et je peux comprendre le français. Je ne suis pas parisien, mais je peux comprendre, alors c'est pas du problème. I can pretend to be a French national if you need me to like speak French. So like if you feel lonely, I can like put out a few words in French for you. French is my third language. So yeah. Okay, so let's watch this interview from Brett. That I've been wanting to watch this all day. So let's just go with this.
Let's bring in Fox News chief political anchor, special report guy and anchor and executive editor, where he calls that place home every day, 6 o'clock Eastern time, but he's a long way from Eastern time. Brett, your takeaway so far as it relates to the Iran war, because right now the headlines, even in the Arab news, are Iran is that Trump and Xi, Hormuz must stay open.
Sorry, just a few more comments. منم دوستتون دارم. به امید آزادی ایران. پاینده ایران جاوید شاه. I cannot speak Portuguese. No, I cannot. Yeah, the pineapple, guys, do not make me bring up the pineapple. Rod remembers the scary pineapple, because if you guys piss me off, I will bring up the scary pineapple that taught me French in my childhood. So if you think I'm weird, it's not my fault. It's the public education system in Ontario. The public education system in my childhood taught me French from like a freaky talking pineapple. Yeah. So guys, be on your best behavior. Otherwise, the freaky talking pineapple is going to show up and then you're all going to have nightmares. But I really want to watch this.
Let's bring in Fox News chief political anchor, special report guy and anchor and executive editor, where he calls that place home every day, 6 o'clock Eastern time, but he's a long way from Eastern time. Brett, your takeaway so far as it relates to the Iran war, because right now the headlines, even in the Arab news, are Iran is that Trump and Xi, Hormuz must stay open and Iran must not have a nuclear weapon. They agree on those two things.
Yeah, Brian, good morning, your time. I think that is the message from the White House, is that President Xi put out and agreed that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, that the Strait of Hormuz has to be open. That's the message that came out from the White House. We don't have specifics yet of a readout of the specifics on the bilat. Hope to get more on that, the conversation. From the Chinese perspective, what they put out to their state-run agency was what Mark just referenced, and that is that Taiwan is the biggest issue for them, and that if handled properly, it would be great between the U.S. and China. If handled improperly, in their words, it could lead to conflict and clashes. That was seen as a kind of a veiled threat here, reading between the lines from President Xi. But everything on the pomp and circumstance suggests that this relationship is moving forward and they're having good meetings. We hope to get some more granular details on Iran pretty soon.
The language reminds me, Brett, of something that might be read out after we had a meeting with the EU in different times, where we talked about cooperation, growing together, not getting in each other's way, having mutual respect, and it'll be a great thing for the world. Respect both powers. We're two of the most powerful. All the things seem so positive, but in reality, with the spying that's going on here, with what's happening with the secret police that exist here, with the way they've.
And guys, remember, in his interview, President Trump actually confirmed that not only is Beijing spying on the United States, but Trump was like, yeah, we're also spying on them. So just goes to show you how much trust they actually have, right?
Infiltrated through cyber attacks into our water system and everything else. It portrays a much different relationship than the words did.
Yeah, 100%. And you can see that here. You can see the communist CCP has a lot of control over folks. I did a thing about cameras on the streets. There are thousands and thousands of cameras. If you watch TV from any broadcast that's not here, when they talk about something negative about China, it goes to bars and says, please stand by. If you talk about human rights or anything like that, it shuts off for like 30 seconds. And I saw it 3 times before I just came here for this live shot. So yes, what's public is one thing, what's private is another. The key thing about this summit is the private stuff. And if President Trump can get some real deliverables leaving here in Beijing.
So Brett, you know what I was struck by, and I thought you was right up your alley, our alley, really. The president went up there and talked about the historic relationship between the countries. He talked about 1784, and he talked about how they referred to us as the new people. We can call it the new world. Talked about what Teddy Roosevelt thought, and talked about how they contributed to the Washington Monument, the respect that they have for George Washington. That does play in to your case for America, right? On the year 250. It is right up your alley in terms of your book.
Yes. Thank you. Nice transition, Brian. I think it does. And it's a look back. Even President Xi got up there and did a hat tip to the 250th, getting ready for this anniversary on the Declaration. Proud to say a #1 New York Times bestseller. Thank you for all the people that bought the book.
Wow.
And listen, I think that the president is laying the case for making, America great, but he has a lot of challenges, a lot of headwinds back home. People feel the economy and the gas prices and want to know when the Iran war is coming to an end. So, they're looking ahead to this anniversary and to celebrate America, but there's some challenges between here and there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And by the way, Brett, the other thing that he said is any help, according to Ainsley was talking to Sean about an interview that's going to air tonight on his show. One of the things he said, any help you need on Iran will help you. That's interesting, right? I mean, for example, one phone call to the supreme leader to open up the strait, and that strait would open up. So it's an interesting statement to make.
I mean, that'd be a huge thing. China buys most of Iran's oil, and you would think that would have a significant movement. I think the White House and the administration is trying to play it like they're not begging Beijing to get involved, maybe soft play it. But I bet they would like that kind of intervention to bring this to an end.
Can't wait for your interview tomorrow night on Special Report with the President of the United States. He seems quite happy. There's sometimes when he's not, but you'll have a chance to find out what really happened too. That'll be tomorrow on Special Report, and we'll check you out tonight at 6 and tomorrow at 6. Brad, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brad.
Be sure. Okay, so that was that interview, which was really important. So I found the 30-minute interview with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent that I really, really want to watch. But one thing that I'm hearing, has President Trump already left? Like, has he already left? Oh, yeah. No, wait. No. That's departing. Like, has he already left China? Or is he still there? Yeah, apparently Trump wraps up visit with Xi in China tonight after talks on trade and stern words on Taiwan. Okay, so yeah, like this was wow. Like this was literally like just going in and out, right? That, like, guys, that's a big deal. The fact that President Trump isn't even staying for like 3 or 4 days, like, that's huge. All right, okay, let's go to, I really want to watch Scott Bessent's interview. It's about, the economic side of things, but again, I was a former international trade lawyer. I love the economy. It's like my thing, dumping, subsidies, tariffs, imports, exports. Like I still know this stuff like the back of my hand. Yeah, guys, I'm like a huge nerd when it comes to these things. So you're going to just have to indulge me because the economy, it might not be as flashy or interesting as boom booms. I mean, boom booms are still important, but the economy is way more. Guys, if you're going to make pineapple jokes, I will traumatize you with the French pineapple before we go to Scott Bessent. I will traumatize you with the pineapple. Don't test me because I will. And the pineapple, the Canadian pineapple that speaks French. All right, guys. You asked for this. This is on you.
Is a presentation of the Provincial Educational Media Center.
Wow! Alors, 5 secondes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Commençons. C'est l'heure.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Ah! Tu parles? Mais tu es un ananas. C'est vrai, tu es un ananas.
Oui, c'est vrai. Je suis un ananas. Je suis un ananas.
Et tu parles? Ce n'est pas possible. Ce n'est pas possible.
Oui, c'est possible.
No.
Guys, I told you, I learned French as a child from a talking pineapple. Yes, they played this in my French immersion class as a child, right? So 5-year-old me, in first grade, learning French from a talking pineapple. So you guys were making pineapple jokes, so now you get to deal with this. I'm going to torture you for another minute, and then we're going to go to Scott Bessent. So yeah, there you go. Well, welcome to Canadian childhood in like I guess this would have been 1990. I was watching this. There you go.
Ce n'est pas possible.
Oui, c'est possible. Bien sûr, c'est possible. C'est possible.
No.
Pourquoi pas?
And then guys, this is where the pineapple is like gaslighting the child. So the child is like, you can't speak. It's not possible. You're a pineapple. And then the pineapple starts like whacking its cane and it's like, yes, it's possible. I'm a talking pineapple. It's possible. Yeah, welcome to my childhood.
Parce que les ananas ne parlent pas.
Right? So the pineapple is like, why isn't it possible? And then the kid's like, because pineapples can't speak.
Les ananas ne parlent pas.
And then he's like, what? Pineapples don't speak?
Les ananas ne parlent pas.
Non.
C'est vrai?
Oui.
Oh.
Trauma. Right there.
Bon. Bonjour.
Anyways, there may or may not have been a period of my life where I actually thought that pineapples spoke. All right, let's go to Scott Bessent now. So I hope that this gives you guys that's a warning. That's a warning. You bring up pineapples again, I'll just I will traumatize all of you with the scary French-speaking pineapple from my childhood. Yeah.
And is very
all right, but let's go to this.
Treasury Secretary Bessent is very measured in the things he was able to say. But I did speak with him in the middle of the night here. Over there is like afternoon or something, and started by asking him to delineate any concrete progress that has come out of his meeting earlier with the vice premier and what is likely to come from the president's summit with President Xi. Here it is.
Joe, the Chinese don't like any surprises, which is why President Trump is especially effective with them. But the vice premier and I, who have a very good working relationship, I think we've seen each other. This was either our 8th or 9th meeting, worked on the agenda for today's meeting in terms of the economics, the deliverables. And so we talked about purchases. We talked about some issues that the Chinese side had. And we're going to talk about forming a board of trade for the bilateral trade between the U.S. and China, and we're going to talk about a board of investment that will be responsible for investment in non-sensitive areas.
Mr. Secretary, you know, foreign investment in the U.S. is always a priority for this president, and I'm sure he'd like to announce a commitment that starts with the T word, with the letter T, or trillions of dollars from China to make its way.
Wait, is it just me or does Scott Bessent look kind of shiny? Like he's in like a very hot place. Maybe like maybe the studio he was in, the Chinese. I wonder if the Chinese were purposely trying to make him feel uncomfortable. Guys, there was a lot of weird things that happened during the China trip. Did you see that clip on X where there was like this like scuffle and then where was it? I might have saved it. There was like this scuffle. And then like there was like this guy that was like swearing. Did you guys catch that? Let me see if I can find it. Did I bookmark that? I don't even know if I bookmarked that. It was so strange. It was so strange. Wait. Yeah, look at this. Look at this, guys. Like it was like the strangest thing.
We gotta move. We gotta go, guys. Okay, no, we gotta go. We gotta go. Go. We gotta go. We gotta move. We gotta go. Let's go.
Wait, what's with the weird music in the background? I don't want the music.
Go, guys. Okay,
here we go. This is without the music. Look at this. So apparently, this was the scuffle between like Chinese agents and Secret Service.
We gotta move. We gotta go, guys. Okay, no, we gotta go. We gotta go. Go. We gotta go. We gotta move. We gotta go. Let's go. We're going.
Look at this. That is our head of security.
We gotta go, guys. Let's go. He's right.
We have to go.
We gotta go. Go.
We have to go.
We are going. Unbelievably.
U.S. press, we are going.
Go, guys. Go.
We are going.
Everybody go.
Rachel, make sure you're in this.
Go.
Like, what is that? And then look at this. Look at this, guys. Look at this. There was also another fight in like the ballroom, and then someone yelled, "Get the F out of here," followed by a full physical struggle. This was yesterday.
No. Get the fuck out of here. No, move.
Like what is going on? Guys, watch this again. It's like the American reporter is getting into like a scuffle with someone and then they drop the F-bomb.
No. Get the fuck out of here. No, move.
So, like, just very bizarre. Very, very bizarre, right? But yeah, that was what I wanted to share. Okay, so let's go to, oops. All right, let's go back to Scotty B. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I can share the commentary on it. Like, I mean, this is the only thing we know. This is the only thing we know.
It's worth pointing out there have been some heated and physical clashes between the Secret Service and the Chinese police on basically at the back doors of these events, including one very physical standoff where a Secret Service officer was being prevented from taking his weapon in as part of the protective detail. But things have all been ironed out. And as far as we know, the schedule has not been changed because of that, Martha.
Yeah, well, it's a tense meeting.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I mean, all right, so let's go back to Scotty B. Yeah, poor guy. I have a feeling that they've put extra hot like lights on him because it's not normal. Guys, like it's not normal to be that shiny and to sweat that much. So I feel like this is like the CCP deliberately trying to make him uncomfortable by putting like a lot of lights on him because this is not normal. Like this is not normal, right? He's a very skinny guy. Like skinny people don't sweat like this unless they're doing it on purpose, right? So I feel like this is CCP trying to get some sort of revenge on him on the DL because he sanctioned all these Chinese companies because this is not normal. And the guy has done so many interviews. No, and guys, like I have also like I've done numerous TV interviews as a politician. When you're in a studio, it does not make sense to be that sweaty. Like the lights are never that hot. Okay, so that whole scenario to make him sweat and look uncomfortable, that's on purpose. I'm telling you.
Measured in the things he was able to say, but I did speak with him in the middle of the night. Here, over there is like afternoon or something, and started by asking him to delineate any concrete progress that has come out of his meeting earlier with the vice premier.
Okay, so for the people who are saying Beijing is super humid, sure. How come President Trump and Sean Hannity were not sweaty? Neither President Trump nor Sean Hannity were sweaty or super shiny in the interview. This is the room. This is the setup that China gave to Scott Bessent. All I'm saying is that that's not normal. That's not typical because professional production companies, they know what they're doing. They know how to set up a studio. They know what temperature it's supposed to be at. That guys, the theories don't work because how come President Trump looked normal? How come Sean Hannity looked normal?
And what is likely to come from the President's summit with President Xi. Here it is.
Joe, the Chinese don't like any surprises, which is why President Trump is especially effective with them. But the vice premier and I, who have a very good working relationship, I think we've seen each other. This was either our 8th or 9th meeting. Worked on the agenda for today's meeting in terms of the economics, the deliverables. And so we talked about purchases. We talked about some issues that the Chinese side had. And we're going to talk about forming a board of trade for the bilateral trade between the U.S. and China. And we're going to talk about a board of investment that will be responsible for investment in non-sensitive areas.
Mr. Secretary, you know, the foreign investment in the U.S. is always a priority for this president. And I'm sure he'd like to announce a commitment that starts with the T word, with the letter T, or trillions of dollars from China to make its way onto our shores. How do we balance such an increase in cooperation with all the ongoing security concerns we have with a country that we know wants to eventually eclipse the United States?
Well, again, Joe, I'm not sure where this $1 trillion investment number has come from. It's somehow gotten out into the ether. And the purpose of this board of investment is to decide up front what are the non-strategic, non-sensitive areas where it would be possible for the Chinese to invest. I chair something called CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. And what we want to do is make sure that these investments don't get referred to CFIUS. So this would pre-game those investments just to make sure that they're not of a strategic or sensitive area. But look, there are plenty of things that the Chinese could invest in the U.S., and we're trying to push the same thing in the U.S. President Trump today told Xi Jinping that he wants to open up China, and China should open up. China's domestic economy has been weak. The Chinese consumer needs to get a larger share of wages, or labor needs to get a larger share of the GDP. It all tends to go back into manufacturing now. And China really needs to create a bigger consumer economy. And President Trump and the entire administration have been pushing them to do that.
So there's a report from Reuters that just came out that the U.S. has cleared around 10 Chinese firms.
Guys, I'm not criticizing Scott. Like, the issue here isn't Scott. The issue is the environment that the Chinese have set up for him. Like, this is not like there's nothing natural. Even like the angle of his head, like the way he's looking at the camera. The whole thing is very like unnatural. Guys, it's not him. It's the setup from the CCP. And again, remember, the CCP don't like Scott because he's sanctioning all their companies. All I'm saying is that this just looks a little too much like a setup from the CCP.
To buy NVIDIA's second most powerful AI chip, the H200.
But despite the fact that like they've put Scott in this like uncomfortable room or situation, he's still like answering the questions 100%, right? So like Scott's doing great, but guys, my point here is that the reason Scott looks extra shiny and uncomfortable is because this is the environment the CCP have created, right? So what I'm trying to say is that this is not on Scott. To me, this looks like this is on the CCP. Because I've watched so many of Scott's interviews. He's never been like this.
No deliveries have been made so far, but this is obviously something that CEO Jensen Huang probably would like to see happen as far as a breakthrough. Can you confirm that's true, and which companies would be allowed, approved, which Chinese firms to buy those chips?
Yeah, Joe, this is news to me. I know there's been a lot of back and forth on the H200s, and we'll have to see on that. That's a Commerce Department function.
Okay. At the same time, there's some competing narratives about the overall environment that we're looking at there. China's export economy continues. Xi apparently wants to show that he will not be bullied. Meanwhile, China's feeling the pinch from a myriad of internal and external pressures that we talk about, whether it's real estate. And I think it's in their best interest to stabilize relations with the U.S. But at the same time, President Trump would probably like to announce some positive news at this point. He's brought all those business leaders. Who is in a stronger bargaining position? And
wait, let me just okay, guys, see, look, this is what Scott is usually like, right? This is what he's usually like at congressional hearings, okay?
In the U.S. financial system. Along with managing our own discretionary budget, Treasury is charged with managing core financial functions and payment operations for the U.S. government. I take that commitment very seriously, not only.
Okay, let me get to a point where he's not reading off paper and he's just answering questions, right? So.
To our attention, we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. It really is a.
Right?
Forward to ongoing dialogue, and per your request, I will personally look into what is going on, especially with IRS.
Right? So this would be like a situation where Scott's like, okay, I'm in front of a congressional hearing, whatever the case might be. This is well, let me fix this. So this is very, very unnatural. This is very unnatural. Guys, I used to chair congressional hearings when I was a politician. We call them parliamentary committees. So I chaired parliamentary committees / congressional hearings for 5 years. So Like I'm familiar with all this stuff. This is super abnormal.
In your view, who needs a deal more, in your view, and has the upper hand?
Well, again, the U.S. is the deficit nation in terms of trade, and I used to teach economic history, and economic history would tell you that the deficit country always has a stronger position because we do have a deficit, and we are China's largest customer, although President Trump has brought the trade deficit down to, it seems crazy to say, only $200 billion. He's laser focused on getting it into balance, and that's the goal here. And that can be done one of two ways. Either the U.S. receives fewer imports from China, or we sell more to China, and we're trying to balance that out. What's happened to China over the past year has been President Trump put up the tariff wall, and China continued to push out goods into their export market, but the U.S., much of that market was blocked, and the goods went to the rest of the world, and there was a lot of price pressure on those goods. So I don't know if you're familiar with the old saying, Joe, is we lose $1 on every item, but we make up for it in volume. So the Chinese have tried to make up for it in volume. They've got a tremendous trade surplus. But if you look at the statistics, the profitability of the Chinese firms is way down, and that is even with massive subsidies from the government.
We had Steve Daines, the senator, on yesterday, just returned from China after leading a delegation, Mr. Secretary. He told us, I hadn't heard this before, the 3 Bs, Boeing, beef, and beans. Will those all be discussed, and what else?
Well, those are big. I think we're going to see the large Boeing orders. Beef was more, they're non-tariff trade barriers against our great American ranchers. And then soybeans.
So President Trump did confirm in his interview with Sean Hannity that we just played that apparently China's going to buy 200 Boeings from the United States. So guys, this is what I mean. So when I say that there are certain people that President Trump sort of speaks through before things are announced, Scott Bessent is one of them, because this was his interview from earlier today. Listen to what he says about the Boeings.
Well, those are big. I think we're going to see the large Boeing orders.
I think we're going to see the large Boeing orders. And then just like a couple hours ago, President Trump confirmed that China's going to buy 200 Boeings, right? This is why it's important to know which people are close to President Trump and who he speaks through. Because once you can identify who President Trump sort of speaks through, that makes it easier to connect all the dots together when it comes to analyzing political speak and, of course, geopolitics.
Beef was more, they're non-tariff trade barriers against our great American ranchers. And then soybeans, we have a very large purchase commitment from the Busan Agreement for the next 3 years. So beans are really all taken care of. Although if I were the Chinese.
Guys, I'm sorry. Whenever I hear beans, I just think of Bears Beets and Battlestar Galactica. I know there's no beans there, but that's what I think of.
I'd probably buy more beans now because there's a weather pattern called El Nino that we're probably going to see this year that typically results in very high soybean prices.
Could there be some breakthrough on tariffs? There's another report that the two presidents may discuss cuts on roughly $30 billion worth of imports. Do you know which sectors are on the table there? Is this a good way to do it, to pick winners and decide which ones we're going to allow in without tariffs and which ones we won't?
So we're going to form a board of trade, and the idea will be for non-critical, non-strategic areas, things that the doesn't want to make, that we're never going to reshore. So something like fireworks or very low-end consumer goods that are going to keep coming from China no matter what. So we can untariff those. And then there are many things that they want to buy from us. There was talk today about the Chinese buying more U.S. energy, and the U.S. is exporting a record amount of crude and LNG now. The only binding constraint is our export facilities. We're going to be building more export facilities. We're going to be ramping up in Alaska, which is a natural for China. And given what's going on in the Mideast, we think that not only China, but countries all around the world are going to look to diversify away from the Middle East for more stable source of energy. And what better place than the U.S.? But the idea of starting with 30 billion by 30 billion that both sides can designate, again, for non-critical areas and areas that we're not trying to reshore.
Secretary, do you have a sense on whether China will help with the Strait in what China has communicated to us about the Strait of Hormuz? And I mean, that's obviously important to them as well. Do you think they're going to help?
I think they're going to do what they can. And here, China has a much bigger interest in reopening the Strait than the U.S. does. China gets about a third of its energy needs from the Gulf. So a reopening of the Strait benefits China. Unfortunately, they've been buying, they were the largest consumer of Iranian oil. They were buying about 90% of it. Iranian oil represented about 10% of their energy that they took in. But the rest of the countries in the Gulf were also substantial contributors, whether it was Saudi, UAE, Qatar, and China gets a substantial amount of their LNG from the Gulf also.
You've talked about...
it's where we have...
I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that China, it's very much in their interest to get the Strait reopened, and I think they will be working with behind the scenes to the extent anyone has any say over the Iranian leadership. And the real problem here, Joe, is that, as you're aware, we didn't change the regime, but the regime changed, and it was several layers of leadership. They were decapitated, and it's very tough there just to communicate anything to anyone who was able to either act or get an overall agreement and speak on behalf of the Iranian leadership.
Yeah, you've talked about this a lot, Mr. Secretary, and that is the strain that Iran is under right now, severe strain with the continuing blockade, hyperinflation, plunging currency, food and water shortages. The supreme leader, allegedly, as you said, that we're not sure who we're talking to at times, allegedly it's begged companies to stop laying off workers for the good of Iran. Is there a breaking point for a regime whose priority?
Okay, that's a really important question. Before we go to that, let's go to a few of your super chats before I forget. So Agent Anderson, multiculturalism in Canada, all Anglos must learn French. No francophones may be subjected to Hinglish, French accent, haha. Well, I mean, yes and no. I went to like a pure French immersion school. So I didn't go to an English school. Like I went to a French school in Ontario. So that's where the pineapple came from, the weird, freaky pineapple. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't mind learning other languages. I'm actually really happy that my parents put me in French immersion so that I could learn French. Because that means I can speak and understand 3 languages. And, you know, a lot of Europeans can, you know, it's like speaking 3 or 4 languages comes naturally. I just, you know, I kind of wish that it would be mandatory for French speakers to learn English as well, because I kind of feel like the more languages you know, the better your brain functions. So that's just sort of my thing. But yeah, like I do wish it went both ways, but like I'm really happy that I can speak like 3 languages. And then, I guess you could say I can kind of speak 4 languages because I also sort of understand like Durkha, but not really. So I don't know about that. To you, Goldie's psychiatric talking pineapple fun. Thank you. I will yeah, if I ever need to see like a therapist about nightmares about the talking pineapple, I will keep that for that. Thank you. Very kind of you. And then Blockbuster says, oh, Blockbuster thinks Scotty B is sweating the liquor out. I don't know. I mean, I have a feeling it's not about the liquor. Guys, that light on him is super bright. Like that light on him, super bright. Like that is one hot light. Like that's not a normal brightness for a light. So I don't know what's going on there, but that light and that setup, that doesn't look cool. Ce n'est pas bon.
Priorities don't include the welfare
let me go back so
of
you can
its
catch
people.
the full question.
Regime talking to at time. Allegedly, it's begged companies to stop laying off workers for the good of Iran. Is there a breaking point for a regime whose priorities don't include the welfare of its people?
Sure there is, Joe. And what we're seeing is the loading facility, the main loading facility for Iranian oil is a facility called Karg Island. We've seen that there have been no loadings in the past 3 days. We believe their storage is full. None of the ships are getting out. None are coming in, so they're not able to store oil on the water. So they're going to start shutting down their production. We can see that that's happening from satellite photos. But more importantly, Joe, exactly as you said, this is a diabolical regime. Thus far this year, they executed 40,000 people, many of them peaceful protesters. And so how do you deal with a regime like that? You squeeze them economically, and we believe we're at the point where soldiers aren't getting paid. They're not able to replenish their weapon stocks from abroad. So,
guys, remember, so we shared videos today of soldiers, like IRGC soldiers, who have not only not been paid for the last, however many days, but they're literally eating potatoes and pickles. Do you remember that? Let me pull that up for you. So that's this video here, right? Where is it? Where's the pickle and potato video? Here you go. Right? So this is what Scott Bessent is talking about. So the IRGC soldiers have not been paid, and they're being first of all, I have zero sympathy because these are the same Muslim Nazis who are murdering us, right? So I have zero sympathy for these people. So I think this is too good for you. I think the only thing that you deserve to eat, by the way, is like poop, right? Like that's the only thing you deserve to eat if you're alive. Because you're part of the Muslim Nazi occupation. However, regardless of that, this is interesting because what Scott is saying on CNBC is lining up with what the Islamic regime soldiers were saying. So look at this. It's got subtitles, English subtitles. So just read the subtitles.
ببینید اینم از غذایی که ما میخوریم، از صبح تا شب جون میکنیم، آخرش هم این غذایی که بهمون میدن، حقوقم که دیگه هیچ.
There you go. So کوفتت بشه، حرومت. I hope you choke on that meal. I hope you just choke on the meal. Let's put it that way. Kuft. That's more than what you deserve, given the fact that you're responsible for the murder of innocent Iranians. Anyway, so this is what Scotty B is talking about when he's talking about how the Islamic regime can't pay the soldiers. There you go. That's a perfect example.
They executed 40,000 people, many of them peaceful protesters. And so how do you deal with a regime like that? You squeeze them economically, and we believe we're at the point where soldiers aren't getting paid. They're not able to replenish their weapon stocks from abroad. So, I think that they are on their last legs, and the blockade, President Trump's blockade, has been a resounding success.
At the same time, it's still a blockade on oil. Oil is up at over $100 a barrel today, just on West Texas, even higher on Brent. Do you still believe that the surge we've seen in gas prices and in inflation in general, had some hot numbers, PPI yesterday, CPI earlier, they're hot. Do you view that as something that'll be reversed quickly if the strait is reopened? And I guess I'd go on to say, do you think the president will accept no rate cuts right off the bat from the new Fed chief, Kevin Warsh?
Well, a lot to unpack there, Joe. So let's do it one by one.
Okay.
I think in terms of what we're seeing, what we're seeing here, we can see that crude, West Texas crude, 6-9 months out, is substantially lower. The curve is in substantial backwardation. That's when the front month is much higher than the back month. So I believe the crude will come down quickly. We've seen the UAE come out of OPEC. So the market's going to be very, very well supplied. I think all the other energy producers, having not gotten oil out for a long time, are going to pump like crazy. And as I said earlier, the U.S., we're at record production. We're an energy superpower, and we're gonna keep pumping. So I think there's a potential for energy, crude, gasoline to come trundling back very quickly, which will mean that the look through to inflation will also come down very quickly. I was never on Team Transient during COVID, and a lot of that had to do with what happened with very expansionary fiscal policy that was financed by debt purchases from the central bank, kind of an experiment in modern monetary theory that caused inflation. But here, I firmly believe that nothing is more transient than a supply shock, and we can look through that because before the Iranian conflict began, core inflation was coming down. So I think core inflation will continue coming down. We'll get to the other side of this, and I don't know whether it's a few days or a few weeks, and energy inflation will come back down. And we've got the start of the Warsh Fed. Kevin was confirmed last night. Only one Democrat, John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, voted for him. It just shows the dysfunction of the Democratic Party. He got a 99 voice vote when he was a governor last time. And I think that he's going to bring an open mind to this. And I actually think he's going to be in a very good position because we may get a series 1, 2, more hot inflation numbers, but then I think we're going to see substantial disinflation.
Yeah, I know that, we talked briefly about the NVIDIA chips and this AI. We just can't go a sentence on CNBC without mentioning AI, Mr. Secretary. There's a front page piece.
Okay, I think that's pretty much all Scott's going to say on the topic of Iran. He might say some more, but you'll have to go watch the rest of the interview yourselves. I'll try to play it another time, but it is now 11 p.m. I do have to get some sleep because I am traveling tomorrow. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining me for tonight's live stream. Like I mentioned, I won't be doing live streaming tomorrow or on Saturday because I will be traveling. I'll be on the move, but I am working on some videos. I'll be uploading some content so that way at least, I can still kind of keep the conversation going. So I just wanted to thank you all for your support. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the watch party. President Trump's interview with Sean Hannity was very interesting, and I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot more commentary coming out. So stay tuned and keep an eye out on all the things that I'm going to be sharing in the next few days. And I will see you guys on Sunday, probably for my next live. So thank you, everyone, and God bless. See you soon.